Okay. Okay, everyone. Good morning and welcome to day 3 of South Summit. We're here at the Checks Notes SANBOX stage, and we're going to have a little experiment called Radio AI, which basically we're going to have an hour and a half of straight content, which is going to begin in a few minutes. And Marisol is going to be bringing you all the way straight through till about 10:30. It's going to be very much guests coming on, coming off, kind of like a radio program that we all kind of grew up and listened to. So, and then I'm going to disappear, really, and I'll see you back here in half an hour. So we're going to have our magic countdown, 3, 2, 1. Okay, big round of applause, please, for Marisol. Yay!
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our 3rd day of South Summit. I hope everybody's enjoying. Everybody that is here today is enjoying, but also whomever is connected to our broadcast and, of course, later on when you rewatch the video. Hello, everyone. My name is Marisol Menendez, and I will be your host for the next 70 minutes. We are presenting and introducing Radio Open Innovation, and you might be wondering, is this a podcast? Is this a radio program? It's everything. It's an adventure about open innovation where we will share stories connected to complexity. It's the topic that we are talking about in this 3rd edition, 10-year anniversary of South Summit, Embracing Complexity. And today we want to talk about how open innovation helps to address and solve complexity. We have an amazing program set up for you today, and we will be working with many speakers, as Joe was saying before. But first of all, let me introduce Christian Null from Area 101. Woo-woo. Welcome, Christian. Christian, you are one fellow adventurer, and together we are talking about open innovation, which is our passion, no?
Yeah, totally.
Today, we are ready to spend a good time with you talking about innovation. And with no further ado, because we have many stories to tell, I think that we can kick off the morning. Are you ready? Ready? Let's begin with our first talk of the morning, Christian.
Let's go. Well, our first guest today is Jorge. Jorge, come to the stage, Jorge. Okay. Jorge comes from the port of Valencia, and well, as we know, the world is really complex, and complexity is something that it also takes part inside the port. So, Jorge, what can you bring us about the complexity, ports? What kind of situations do you live in your daily day as a port?
Yeah, as you say, Christian, the ports are really complex systems. It comprises a lot of activities to guarantee that the supply chain works perfectly. And it involves different actors like shipping companies, terminals, freight forwarders, the hauliers, railway companies, a lot of actors and stakeholders that are interacting together to make things happen, and to make that we receive all the goods that we import and we export, and all of this interchanging a lot of information and a lot of interactions in a daily day, and it produces a lot of challenges as well.
Yeah, as you're saying, I think that you have mentioned that so many pieces on those ecosystems, and as also Marisol and we talk a lot of times that the ecosystems and the collaboration between each part of those, it's something, I mean, it's something so needed in order to advance and to go forward on what the port is doing. And what do you think is the role that innovation takes part in such a complex ecosystem as the one that you have in the port?
Yeah, the innovation is key because, as I said, the ports are facing a lot of challenges nowadays. We are facing digitization, automation of operations, and very important, decarbonization. Yeah. The Port of Valencia, for example, has the target of achieving net zero emissions by 2030, which is far away the official targets, and it's very ambitious. And for all of this, to accomplish all those challenges or to solve them, we rely on innovation, especially in open innovation.
Yes, I think. What kind of initiatives currently you are managing in terms of open innovation? Because you were talking about sustainability, automatization, digitalization, and I'm sure that you have a lot of talent inside the company. But how are you embracing those kind of change in open innovation in the Port of Valencia?
Yeah, okay. I come from the Fundación Valencia Port, which is launching the OpenTop. Yep. OpenTop is the open innovation hub of the Port of Valencia Port. And we are partnering with Telefonica, Open Future, to build an incubator and accelerator of OpenTop. And within this incubation and acceleration, we want to bring together the corporates that are working in the port, all those companies like shipping companies and freight forwarders and these kind of companies, with the startups that bring innovation to the port. In the port, there are a lot of technologies that can be applied. We have machinery, we have digital equipment and new energies like hydrogen and these kind of things. And there's a lot of opportunities for startups to interact with the port and to bring their technologies, and we want to put in contact both sides.
Yes, so nice, so nice. And Jorge, what the future look like for OpenTop, for the hub, for the future of collaboration in terms of what you are doing? I mean, how do you see the future in 2 or 3 years with that kind of initiatives? What are the challenges also about that?
Yeah, we are first of all, we launched the hub in March, and we made the first activity was a hackathon we made in early May. And now, very soon, we'll launch the first call for startups for incubation program. Yep. And in autumn, we will launch the first call for acceleration. So now, in short term, we'll be looking for early stage startups to solve the challenges that we are putting on the table. And we will make this cycle, hackathon, incubation, acceleration pilots, very important for the startups. They will have the opportunity to demonstrate their technology to the corporates of the port. And we'll be repeating this cycle year by year. And I hope that maybe in a few years we have maybe some unicorn coming up from OpenTop.
That's all. That's all. Well, I think, Marisol, that we have seen that collaboration, it's something, I mean, it's so needed. And also in a complex ecosystem like the one that you have, Jorge. Thanks so much for sharing your experience.
Marisol.
Thank you very much for being with us, Jorge. And thank you for building the future of ports and transportation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Christian. We'll come back for the next conversation. And as you can see, we are having these little nice pills of information and invitations. I invite everybody to be ready for all the opportunities that come, such as the next guest will share with us. Let's welcome Elena de Benavides. She is Corporate Venturing and Innovation Ecosystems at Elewit. Welcome, Elena. How are you today?
Thank you,
Good
Marisol.
morning.
It's a pleasure to be here today.
It's a pleasure to have you today. You know that I'm a huge fan of Elewit and how you are managing open innovation.
Thank you
so
very
for
much.
me, it's a delight to be sharing with you this morning. Our topic for today is the coding complexity, you know, and how ecosystems are collaborating and creating these useful interactions to solve the complexity. So how do you envision collaboration at Elewit?
Okay. The achievement of the energy transition goals focus on achieve the climate neutrality by 2015, and the development of connectivity everywhere are huge goals. So to face them in Elewit, we have understood that we need different tools, and we have to build our own ecosystem to move faster. So we collaborate in 3 steps, internally with the Red Electrica business unit. Now we call Redeia, we have changed the name for the group, introducing a new methodology for innovation based on do it faster and lean. Externally, using the open innovation methodology, creating our corporate venturing arm. But when you have to lead with complexity, I think that change the way of doing things is the main step, obviously, but we are a strong believer that is not enough. Because when you have to achieve this kind of deep transformation inside your company or inside our sector and ecosystem, we have to achieve a deep change of mindset. So that's the reason why we are working and fostering the collaboration between the external and internal ecosystem, but making the employees a kind of transformation heroes using our entrepreneurship program.
I like it, heroes, no? That's also engaging. And also you are working with entrepreneurship in this program, so your heroes go to work. How does that work?
Yeah, it's a program that we have launched to give the employees the opportunity to become a real entrepreneurs, but with a safety net, developing their ideas inside our Elewit. We have 2 main objectives. First of all, identify new business logics and opportunity, obviously. And the second one is to create a kind of all-road profiles and push up this chain of mindset. So the program is have two parts, a 3-month bootcamp where they have the opportunity to work only in their idea and turn this idea in a basic business plan and an MVP. And if they have to go to the next step, they have 6 months too for a venture creation part, and with the opportunity to be fully dedicated to the program, dig deeper inside the market opportunity, create a marketable MVP, and try to raise capital from our board and start up a new...
Like a regular startup,
yeah.
No? Raising funds and everything.
And share capital between the employees and the corporate.
Wow, that's amazing, because maybe you are in your regular job and discover that you have opportunity to create something and create value. Yeah. But and that's deeply connected with a sector that is so specific, such as yours. So I think there's a lot of value. But do you also collaborate with external startups, like all the other groups do as well?
Yes, for sure. Yeah, we have built our ecosystem working hand in hand with all the stakeholders in different ways. We use Open Challenge to be close to universities, research centers, and innovation hubs. We identify new cross-sector opportunity working with other corporates, institutions, and venture capital firms. With them, we develop the scouting activity too. And we share knowledge around our sector. And with a startup, we have 2 ways of collaboration. As a technology validator, introducing the technology inside our companies, but with a focus on become a client for them, and we can help them to scale up, investing using our corporate venture capital.
I really like that you are not just focusing on startups, but collaborating with all the ecosystem, which is like an open innovation paradise. No? So, well, we are ready to close right now. What would be a call to action that all our attendees and the people who are watching us in streaming or listening to this later on can get?
Yes, for sure. As you said at the beginning, we are in the middle of complexity. We are part of the group that have to lead the energy transition because we are the backbone of the electric system. And one main topic in South Summit this year is sustainability. And in the energy system, in the energy sector, the sustainability have a clear translation. It's climate neutrality. And that means more flexible system to integrate more renewables. That means consumers that become producers. That means smart grids, storage, means sustainable and efficiency in our uses, but means too an unknown context asking for innovation. So I really believe that now we have the opportunity, the privilege, and the responsibility to respond with a clear strategy to achieve a more sustainable and connected future, where all the stakeholders could have different roles and more dynamics, and where our love open innovation have to be one of our stronghold, because only by sharing forces we can advance on the coding complexity.
This is amazing, because as such as superheroes, no, with great power comes great responsibility, and this openness to do the work together, focusing on these wicked challenges that are not solvable by just one person or one organization is the best way to go, and you're setting a perfect example. So people, be ready and look after Elewit and answer to all the challenges that you are continuously launching to the ecosystem. Elena, it's a pleasure having you today. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, Marisol. Bye-bye.
Thank you. How about that? Do you like it? I think it's amazing, the energy that we have in the room. And Christian, please come on stage and let's talk about the next part of the morning.
Yes, well, I think I'm continuing with the set of ideas that Elena was saying about energy. What we are seeing in complexity is that first it was verticals, but now we are not speaking about verticals, we are speaking about horizontals. Energy is one of them. So let's share a couple of stories about energy. The first one is Camila. First, please, come to the stage.
Woo.
She's going to share with us. Thank you very much.
Hola, Camila, come on.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Camila Fernandez from Endesa, and I would like to talk to you today about demand response, share some ideas about my project. So demand response is typically defined as the modification in the demand of electricity customers from their normal patterns in response to economic signals or electricity price, for instance. This might sound like something very simple, but it's actually quite complex. First of all, why do we need demand response? We aim to move towards a power system with 100% renewable generation. So this implies a change of paradigm. Today, generation follows demand because demand is what it is. And in the future, demand needs to follow generation because renewable production is what it is. So consumers will become equivalent to electricity producers. But instead of selling power into the market, they will sell their flexibility. So how can this happen? How can we achieve that? Well, first we have to understand consumption needs and consumption constraints. We need to understand the consumer's behavior. We need to forecast accurately consumption. We need to monitor consumption in real time. And we also need to aggregate the flexibility from multiple types of customers and sell it into the electricity market. And of course, for this to happen, we need a proper regulatory framework. And last but not least, we need to transform this complexity into something simple and into a sellable product so customers can engage with us, right? In Endesa, to deal with this complexity, we launched a transversal project with experts from different business areas. So we have key account managers who knows the needs of the customers. We have experts in forecast models, in electricity markets, and information and communication technologies. And this also involves a complexity because the different areas have different ways of working and different priorities, different objectives. So since the beginning, we have to work with the idea that this is a common global objective of the company. The company is interested in this project, and each member of the team has a role to play in it and has to own a part of the product. So it's a long way to innovation.
Yeah, for sure. I think that you have you were talking about how you are mixing different people, different ways of working,
Yes.
and that's not easy.
It's not easy.
And we have also Alex. Alex, please come to the stage. Alex is going to share with us a project about solar energy, because it's one of the phases of that value chain that energy has.
Yes,
So,
thanks,
Alex.
Christian. Yes, I'm going to talk about energy generation, no? Photovoltaic. It's not quite an innovation topic, as you might know. No? Photovoltaic and energy solar is being since more than 100 years ago, so it's not an innovative product. Maybe it was incorporated in some kind of South Summit in that time, no? 100 years ago. But it's an incredible growth so far, photovoltaic. In fact, we are seeing folding by 2, by 3 every year in Spain, so it's a thriving technology of today. No? It's not an alternative to reduce our energy consumption, but instead it's a real solution of today. No? So it's very, very important. I want to talk about how we can, no, in fact, I want to say that it's a product of today, but it's quite strange that in Spain, just of 10 millions of available rooftop to put self-consumption to work. No, it's accessible market. We have only 0.1%. So it's an amazing way to go, no? But it's happening today. It's an increasing, it's an incredible market to deploy, no? In Spain. I want to talk also about how we innovate in the SAX and what challenge we face. Talking about complexity, that is the main topic of this event, I would say that even though photovoltaic is very simple, I used to say that it's quite simple as air conditioning that we have in our homes. It's very, very complex to deploy, very, very complex to see the real benefits, no, in your energy bill at the end. No? That is the aim of this technology.
Because Alex, speaking about that, and I think it's something that maybe can be in common, what do you think the main learning, because you are working in solar energy, you are working also on the same sector, but at the same time, complexity is a common point on that. So what would you say is the main learning, or what's the point that you would like to share also with the audience about that innovation methodology, for example, and also Camila?
Yes, I think the most challenge here in photovoltaic and self-consumption is to bring all together even the public administrations, that it's the main barrier to overcome, no? But because the projects on photovoltaic self-consumption is taking months in Spain, so this is the main work to do, no? To bring all together and even the public administrations to overcome all the issues and become photovoltaic as a stream, no, as mainstream, no.
And yeah, I think both our projects are projects with long-term results. Even though Alex said that photovoltaics is already here, it's already a reality. We still have a small amount of customers with self-consumption, right? In both our cases, we have to create a process of awareness, so there is an evangelization process, and also we need to collaborate with people from different areas with different priorities and different objectives. So I think it's, even though in his case it's already here, let's say, it's a long way to innovation.
And we are beginning a chain at the end, because we are producing energy, distributing, and many other options will come in terms of energy and the distribution, the dispersed distribution and management.
Yeah, and it's something today that it's on the daily day of everyone energy, more than ever.
For sure.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing your experience.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Camila and Alex.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Well, Christian, energy.
Yes,
Energy.
it's a really hot topic, I think, Marisol.
Yeah.
And I think that the next guest that we have it's something, because Alex was speaking also about the barriers that has in order to get these kind of projects. So please, Fidel, if you can come to the stage, I think that also will be your contribution will be more than needed for this.
Welcome,
yes,
Fidel.
please. Welcome, Fidel. When we are speaking about ecosystems, I think that one of the main ecosystems is a city, because the city has citizens, they have different public services, private services, and a lot of pieces on that. So Fidel, in an ecosystem like the Comunidad of Madrid, in which you are Vice Minister of Education, what do you think, or what's the role in order to dynamize all those parts in this ecosystem?
Well, first of all, thank you very much to invite me to be here. I'm representing to the region of Madrid, but the real truth is that today we are talking more than the cities and the region. We are talking about the areas. No? When we're talking about London or Paris or New York, you always are talking about the area, the great Madrid. No? Yeah. I think that Madrid has everything that you have to be a stronger ecosystem. And one of the things that we think we have to do in the government maybe is how to promote that these dots of the network can do the best in every time. Because one of the, for instance, in the entrepreneurial ecosystem, we have entrepreneurs, we have companies, we have funds, we have business angels, we have accelerators, we have everything that we need. But one of the things that we want to do in this period of the government is how to promote the ecosystem. Than the people that is working or is playing in the ecosystem now, they can do it strong, and more people coming to Madrid, because we always say that we are in fashionable moments, and then we think that we have to work with each of the dots.
You were saying lots of different pieces also, business angels, companies. How do you manage, I mean, what's the complexity that you have on that, and what challenge are you seeing in that kind of collaborations of those pieces?
President Ayuso said 2 days ago here, or yesterday, sorry, how the Madrid is the characteristic, the main characteristic of Madrid is the freedom, and then we don't want to be as intermediators of the process. We want to leave the freedom of the people to work and to do what everyone wants to do. And this is very, very nice for us. Another policy is the low taxes in the region. We think that the money in the pockets of the people is better than in the money of the government, and then we work for that. Yeah. And for this reason and for others, that the ecosystem that Madrid is into Spain, is into the European Union, is a very good, for instance, for the Latin Americans that's coming here on the other part of the world. And for us, the initiative that we want to do is a lot of networking, a lot new spaces where people want to talk with investors, entrepreneurs, accelerators.
Facilitator of those.
Yeah, we want to be a facilitator. Yeah. You started the conversation with the barriers. Yeah. The main thing that we have to do in the government is don't put barriers to the others that want to do things. This is our main claim that we have to do every morning when we get up, the reading in our beds. In the front of our bed is don't put barriers for the people that want to do things. Yes. And then we have to work in this direction.
Okay, and how will the future look like for that? I mean, what are the next 2 or 3 years that you are working and envisioning the future of Madrid in this case, the future of innovation?
A very good question this week. That 2 days ago we present the new strategy of the startups and innovation in the Comunidad of Madrid. The name is Madrid Kilometer Zero. That we want to, in the point, the Kilometer Zero in Madrid, the people that maybe don't know that from Madrid start every road in Spain, and then we want to start up the way from Madrid to the world. No? And then in this strategy we have 6 different areas. I don't want to talk in detail, but the most important is that we want to work with the ecosystem. We want to put the information very clear for everyone that wants to create a new company, to invest, or to have a good relationship with the government. And for us, it's very important, as I said, for instance, the verticals where we want to work in the sector. We are stronger because we have 18 universities in Madrid. We have more than 50 research centers with the national and the regional centers, and then around more or less around 1 million people in Madrid is working is in the university as a student, as a worker of the university, or researchers in the research center. So we have a very knowledge community, and then we want to active this community for innovation and for startups. And one of the things that I like to say is that the entrepreneurial spirit is not just to create companies, it's a way to live. Yes. And then I think that Madrid is a way to live in the freedom and in the innovation and the entrepreneurial spirit. And I think that the region of Madrid, the politicians, and the society that in Madrid we live, we are a very mixed to have exit in the future.
Suspiring. I think one last, I mean, here you have a mix of different agents. Here I'm sure that you have companies, you have citizens, for sure. So what's the call to action that you will say to them that from the public administration that you are managing, you want to communicate to them as a call to action?
Okay. First call of action is to be open to anyone, anything that you want to say to us. We have to be transparent and to be open. I'm from the sector. I'm 20 years working in the ecosystem. I was an entrepreneur and a businessman. I work in the university. I'm a PhD. I'm a researcher as well. So I'm a politician as a short period, I think, and then I will back into the other lives. And then, first of all, to be very close of the sector, and every one of us, we have to talk with others. Yeah. Second is very open to the business friendly. Madrid wants to be a region where anyone that wants to work, create a new company, this is the place. And then we have very close that. And then the connection with the knowledge. Because the talent, we have to provide talent from the university, we have to get talent from other parts of the world, and then we have to work as a government in the visa startup, or we have to be for other laws that in the national government put for the regions, and then we have to work in this way.
Okay, so Marcel, I would say that as a last thought, that the recipe for complexity maybe it's be a facilitator and be able to push and to connect the dots, right? Okay.
Right.
Thank you very much, Fidel.
Christian. Thank you very much, Fidel. Thank you for sharing. And of course, we know Madrid is a beautiful city, and we are enjoying it these days. And that's amazing. Spain is an amazing country as well. That's why it's a privilege for me to invite on stage our next guest, Maria González Picatoste. Welcome on stage. She is Head of Alliances and Investment for the High Commissioner for Spain, a Startup Nation. Welcome, Maria. Hello.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure being here with you.
Thank you very much for sharing this morning with us.
My pleasure, totally.
So, Maria, you work for the High Commissioner for Spain, a Startup Nation.
Yes.
What does that mean? What's your work?
What do we do? The High Commissioner is it's a very small office. Actually, we most of the times joke that it's kind of a startup inside La Moncloa, which is the head of the government here in Spain. And what we do is, first of all, try to look up and take a long-term view of what needs to happen in Spain in order for the country to make sure that we make the best out of the entrepreneurship economy. What does that mean? It means that we are seeing how basically around the world countries that are focusing on making the best of the opportunities that the entrepreneurial ecosystem presents. They are growing faster. They are renewing their company's fabric, basically. And that means that those economies are making sure that in the future they will be more resilient, they will have jobs, they will create wealth. And we believe that as a country, Spain cannot afford to lose that opportunity. That is a train that definitely we need to be ready to take and to board. And the strategy that we developed at the High Commissioner's Office, the strategy for Spain Entrepreneurial Nation, it's basically that. It's a vision of what needs to happen transversally in Spain in order to make sure that we tackle that opportunity.
Wow. It's amazing because we need for sure to have a long-term view, no?
Definitely, yeah.
So can you put some examples of the kind of things that you do?
For sure. So basically what we did is, I know that you know us, the whole team, but I will give you a quick overview. Exactly.
Share the story with everyone.
So we are a team of 8 people in La Moncloa.
An amazing team.
Thank you. The weird thing is that none of us is a politician. All of us come from the ecosystem. I think that aggregated, we have almost 40 years of experience working with the startups, scale-ups, in different type of organizations. So even some of us have been entrepreneurs, like my boss and I, we separately, but we have been part of startups, and we've tackled that part of or at least tried to explore what does it mean to actually be an entrepreneur. So that means that when we decided to create this, and when we started writing and thinking about the strategy, all of us came with a very clear vision of what the sufferings and the pains of being an entrepreneur basically are. And we realized that some of those, now that we're talking about open innovation, had to do with connecting agents that normally don't get that much face time with each other. For example, of course, everybody thinks about the large corporations and the startups, but that's something that even our ecosystem, which is not that old, has already several structures, and we could say that it's already working in that direction. But for us, we thought, okay, who's not talking to whom? No? Who needs to be in touch? For example, public administration and startups. That's something that, at least in Spain, it's still very rare. One of the things that we are promoting very heavily is that startups and scale-ups need to have a public relations department, someone in their teams that is used and that knows how to talk to the public administration and build that type of relations. Actually, this is something that it's more of our anecdote, but several entrepreneurs that told us at the very beginning, we don't have the money to afford this type of position, it's very early for us. A year or a year and a half later, they hired that person and they started seeing the value of actually having someone whose full-time job is to represent their interest in the public administration.
Oh, wow.
So, and we understand that that's not normal. Why? Because everybody has learned about entrepreneurship playing by the US book. What does that mean? In the US, the government and the public administration is not a key agent or a key relevant part of the ecosystem. Most people actually start up or even innovate on the sides of the public administration. But here in Spain, we think that there is how our system works, there is definitely an opportunity for a close collaboration between startups, scale-ups, and of course, the public administration. So that's what we are trying to do. It's not open innovation, it's open government, so to speak. And remove barriers, yeah.
Exactly, it's part of the spirit is to create connections where there weren't,
exactly.
No? And let value flow over that.
Exactly.
I believe it's a little bit of open
innovation. Oh my God, it's kind of, exactly, but it's an open innovation from the other side of the...
I love it. Yeah. It's a new way to address it, and I think that the complexity that we are living in is asking for us to find the new ways to relate.
Definitely.
No? At the end, we are living all these complex issues, these grand challenges that we are facing as countries, as people, as citizens, as workers, and finding these new ways to collaborate is the key, you know? Mm-hmm. So how do you envision this also, this complexity, which is our topic today?
Well, I think that we need to understand that complexity is not something that we are going to figure out at any moment. We just need to assume and accept, kind of, exactly, like accept that it's going to be part of how we work and where we work and how we interact with other corporations and other agents. It's part of life, complexity. And I think that it's of course, it's always the chimera, no? Trying to decode complexity and then exactly have an in-way into opportunity. But I think that the opportunities really today are in accepting that complexity and trying to work around it. Because those are where people don't go or don't feel that comfortable going, right?
Of course.
Where things are tough.
We need to learn to surf.
Exactly.
We are almost ready to close. Any idea, call to action? What you want to share with our audience?
For me, in these 2 years that we've been working at the High Commissioner,
2 years already?
2 years
Wow.
already, almost 2 years and a half. It's a month short of 2 years and a half. For me, it's take into consideration absolutely every agent that has something to do with your company. And if the government or the public administration is one of them, go talk to them, be familiar, know who the people that can pull the strings in your business or in the regulation that affects your business, who those people are, and at least give them a call, send them an email, explain what you're doing for them to have you in the radar. So think about what the public administration can do for you.
Wow, that's interesting, because one other concept that Christian and I have been talking a lot, and with all the Area 101 team, is that we need to orchestrate connections, no? And also
Definitely.
within organizations, we want to orchestrate, and of course think of the government as
Another player.
Another player.
Exactly.
Maria, it's always refreshing talking to you. It's a pleasure and a privilege. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, Maria. Well, we talked about ecosystems in companies, in cities, in countries, no? And you know by now that I enjoy talking about open innovation and ecosystems. That's why I'm excited about inviting our next guest on stage, Markel Gilbert. Please welcome, because we are talking about ecosystems of ecosystems. Welcome on stage, Markel.
Hello.
You are a perfect guest to talk about this topic, because we are getting like broader and broader in the vision of open innovation. First of all, I will let you do your own introduction.
Okay.
Please share us about your company, where you come from, and about you.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I'm part of a lot of things, so that's why I think I'm here. My name is Markel Gilbert. I'm coming from Ox Motorcycles, which is a company that we create electric motorbikes. In fact, yesterday it was just here exhibiting our motorbike. But myself, I've been growing myself inside the Mondragon Team Academy Lane community. So I also been part of that community. I've been working in Shanghai, in Berlin, in Costa Rica, creating this ecosystem for team entrepreneurs. And as well, I create another company that is an innovation consultancy in Bilbao. So I guess I'm a lot of things. But actually, I'm working mainly in Ox Motorcycles, which is where I am the business developer there. Yeah.
Wow, so many things to explore and to talk about. Maybe let's begin at the beginning.
At the beginning,
let's
that's a good thing.
Let's talk about that back in history. How did you begin, and what's this about Lane?
Yeah, I mean, Lane is a bachelor degree for entrepreneurship and innovation created within the Mondragon University that at the same time is inside the Mondragon Group. No?
Ecosystems of ecosystems.
Of ecosystems.
We are open.
That's it. I was the first generation, the first batch coming from Lane, so we were like 24 people starting to create companies within a bachelor degree. That this is the magic of Lane. No? We create real companies, we make real learning inside the Lane. And we started 24 people. Actually, we are now, I think, 1,200 people all over the world. We have laboratories in Shanghai, Seoul, Costa Rica, Mexico, and here in Spain in a lot of places.
In Bilbao.
And in Bilbao, of course. Very good place, Bilbao. Huh? Better San Sebastian. I'm from San Sebastian.
Okay. And well, so this is a program to train entrepreneurs from the core and in practice. And I figured that once you went out of this stage in your life, you were ready to conquer the world, no? What did you do?
I mean, to conquer the world with other people, okay? We are not just superheroes, but we work in teams in order to make projects and new realities coming out. So, I mean, like nowadays, all our communities working in consultancies in Madrid here a lot, no? I mean, in big corporations, Iberia, so. And we are creating also a lot of companies, no? As Hemper with Gloria Gubianes, which is quite known in the ecosystem. And I mean, little by little, no? As we are more and more, we are also, I mean, connecting among ourselves and with other people. That is the important thing, no? How to create ecosystems is about people, it's about connections, even no, if the structures and the procedures are important, and nowadays more with a digital layer, connection, trust is something key.
I know that you were part of this strategy of creating another layer of these ecosystems, SANBOX cooperative.
Yeah.
I also like a lot the idea of cooperatives as one of the main elements of creating ecosystems. Tell us a little about it.
Yeah, I mean, we were in one moment which, like the Mondragon Team Academy and Lane was developing here in Spain, but we were in a consultancy in Bilbao, and we start creating the whole extension of the ecosystem abroad. No? So myself, I was in Shanghai, so every place where you're going, you're creating a lab and you're creating a Lane International degree there. You have to connect with the ecosystem there. No? And then there is another layer that is connecting those ecosystems with our ecosystems. So yeah, we have been working on that in the last 5 years.
Wow.
Actually, we have came with I mean, like a lot of people in Shanghai, Seoul, joining our programs. And I mean, it's an adventure for sure.
Of course.
but yeah, I mean, nowadays we have kind of around 500 people moving all the time from ecosystem to ecosystem. And this is something that is super fruitful because we are seeing now as Ox Motorcycles, that is a project that started in China, went to US, now it's in Madrid. I mean, how new things are coming, no?
I think it in my head like a network of ecosystems, and you are just walking around, and for me it's amazing, no? Understanding how this complexity can be used as a force to create new value. So we are talking about ecosystems of ecosystems. Any final thought before we close?
No, I mean, mainly it was like the main idea I want to put today, no? As we have a few time to talk, we can talk much longer. But it's, what I am seeing now in the world is like always is about people, you know? All the communities, all ecosystems are based on people, on culture. And it's something that we are building from wherever we are, no? We put like the culture, the values, people in the center, because this is how we are going to connect. The structures, the digital layer is amazing. We could be like,
tools, no?
That is a tool. And
amazing. Thank you very much, Markel, for being with us today.
Thanks to you.
I invite everyone to look into Mondragon University, Mondragon Universitea, and look into all the opportunities that come from the cooperative. And now I think that you have another story for us. Christian, welcome on stage again.
Yes, this one is totally. And this one for me is really nice because I come from Valencia, so I am really connected with this ecosystem. So please, Carmen, if you can also come to the stage, please. Okay. Hello, Carmen.
Thank you. Hello. Hello for inviting us.
I don't know. I think that everyone already in Spain, and more than in Spain, knows about Lanzadera. But for those that don't know about Lanzadera or what they are currently doing in terms of innovation and corporate innovation, what would you say to them?
Okay, for those who don't know, Lanzadera is an accelerator owned by Juan Roth, leader and founder, president of Mercadona. And we help entrepreneurs to grow their businesses. And in these kind of terms, we also have an innovation program, which we collaborate with multiple corporates, in which we have like around 50 corporates joining us in helping entrepreneurs and looking for new business models or solutions from entrepreneurs.
Okay. And can you give us an example? Because you have the innovation program with the corporates, but for example, how do you manage that relationship or how it is?
We started like between 5 and 6 years ago.
Yeah.
We started with a model by one startup, one corporate, but we developed this last year, and we're doing one startup and multiple corporations, because we believe that this is a potential for the startups to get more knowledge, more resources, more opportunities in terms of businesses. corporates, right? And also corporates can join the ecosystem. They want to explore new solutions, and they gain a lot of knowledge from the startups as well. So we're doing this. For example, to give you an example, we did the hub and hub called Retail Tech. With Merlin Properties that owns shopping centers and offices.
And for example, in that kind of hubs, because you were speaking about retail tech, what other verticals or what other kind of programs do you have for that?
We also have one for health, and we have corporates join that hub, such as Janssen, Ribera Salud, Siemens, and also Amazon Alexa. You believe that what does it need to, what is doing Amazon Alexa here, no? In a health hub. So the startups can use their technology, their voice technology, to integrate that in their solutions, and they can gain a lot of resources from them.
Yeah, I think it's more about the same that we were speaking also, Marisol, about how different corporations that they are not in the same sector even, because you were speaking about Amazon Alexa and retail tech. They are different, but at the same time they are collaborating together. And how about the future? I mean, you say that you were evolving because you were learning that it was first one-on-one, and now it's like one to multiple corporates.
Yeah.
What's the future look like for Lanzadera in this case?
We're obviously developing new ideas. We're also listening to our clients. Not only the corporates, but also the startups. What are you looking for in the ecosystem? What are your needs? And we are trying to look for new ways of collaborating with corporates and with startups, because our mission is to help both of them to growth, right?
Yeah. Well, I seriously encourage everyone, that the ones that haven't not been there, to visit Lanzadera, because the place is amazing. I also studied there, so it's so nice to visit. And one last thought, one call to action to people. What do we say?
I would say that to come to Lanzadera, because it's something really difficult to express what we do and how we help entrepreneurs and corporates. Because once you come to Lanzadera, once you see it, once you feel how the ecosystem works, it's really amazing. You cannot expect anything more than that. So I would say to come, to get to know other entrepreneurs that are there, and enjoy our programs. Sure.
It's true that sometimes you need to experience some kind of relations to really feel how the collaboration grows.
Yes, and I think that this is one of those examples. Okay, thank you very much, Carmen.
Thank you so
And
much
back
for
to you,
inviting
Marisol.
us.
And Christian, thank you very much. And you know, we keep widening our vision of ecosystems. We are getting broader and broader. Lanzadera is one of the best examples, I think, one of the jewels of the crown in Europe. I think that's something to look at. But we also know that there are several initiatives that are connecting besides startups and corporations. We are trying to connect with science, with universities, as many of our speakers before have done. No? One of these very beautiful examples is led by Alicia Ortega, our next guest. Alicia is leader of innovation at 3M. Welcome, Alicia. How are you?
Hello, Marisol. Happy to be here with you, finally.
Finally, the day has arrived. I'm so happy. You know that I admire the work that you do. I admire the way that you are doing innovation. I'm a fan. That's things that geeky like me do, no? I admire people like you. So please, I know that you are doing innovation in 3M, but tell us a little bit about what you do.
Well, I'm, as you say, the leader of the Innovation Center in Madrid. It's a building we opened in 2013. We have several other similar buildings around the world in 3M, different in the exterior, the architecture, but with the same spirit, which is showing our visitors our innovation story, because at the end, there we don't speak about business or strategy, but our culture, which is very important for us. So we receive people not only from customers, but from partners, institutions, students also, and we want to put together there all the innovation ecosystem partners, is the main objective. And in parallel, we also have the labs, where the application engineers work to develop customized solutions for our customers. What they do is to learn about the customer processes and try to find areas to improve by using our products and technologies, combining them properly, introducing automation, for example. So at the end, we have the perfect place to start a conversation around innovation and science and to share projects for the future.
Innovation and science. That's one thing I love, because we are talking a lot about startups and other initiatives, but of course, science is there, no? And you talked about the internal organization. In the definition of open innovation, we're creating bridges to connect different units of the organization. For me, it's still open innovation, no? But what kind of projects do you do?
Well, we have many, many projects, as you can imagine. Our main purpose is to use the science to improve people's lives. That's a huge objective, and we do it in several different ways. We are very committed, for sure, on promoting science, STEM disciplines, science, technology, engineering, and maths in the new generations. We want to be sure that we will have scientists in the future. That's why we, this year, launched an initiative, a contest for young people called Top Scientists. We challenge students in the 3rd and 4th grade of secondary school and 1st grade of high school to identify a problem around them that they could potentially solve by using science and technology. We ask them to work in pairs, because team working and collaboration is key in science. And we selected the top 5 ideas and went through a very interesting journey with them during 2.5 months by mentoring the pairs of students. They participated in inspirational sessions with young entrepreneurs. They had a communication skills training, and at the end, they had to present, to pitch in a final event in front of 120 people, including the Minister of Science and Innovation. She was very kind of coming to our innovation center to give the award to the pair of winners, which, by the way, are here with us today.
Yes,
so I want
excited.
to welcome Carmen, Vico, and Sarah Abad, our top scientists 2022. Hello, ladies. How are you?
Good morning. We are so excited to be here talking about this experience. I'm very grateful for the invitation.
Yeah, it's always great to see you. I perfectly know about your experience, but probably the audience would like to know how you knew about the contest, how you decided to participate. Tell us a little bit.
Yes, Carmen, read about the Top Science contest of the company of 3M at Instagram before 2 days, 2 days before the deadline to apply.
Wow.
Yes, and I quickly told Susana, our science teacher, that I wanted to participate, and I have a general idea of what I wanted, and I didn't have like a partner, so she joined us.
Yes, we don't know each other, but now we are become very good friends, and that connection helped us very much in the project and to be easy to work together.
Yes, and we sent a 90 seconds video, more or less, and and for our surprise, we were selected. And it was, I don't know, we were very excited. And then we started to have mentorships and talks with important people in science.
For that mentorship, we have a mentor called Diego Ramirez, an engineer in aeronautics and materials, which we have some video calls to guide us and help us a little bit.
Yes, he was a very good help for develop our project that consists in a capsule of nanoparticles to fight infections in joint prostheses and a series of tests with biosensors.
And with this project, the main objective was have a positive impact in people's lives. And also, this project led us to win the award of Top Scientist.
Yes, we are very excited because we are going to go to Minnesota, to the 3M labs, and we are looking for things for our laboratory and to show our classmates how beautiful science is.
Yes, And with this project, we didn't only want to help people. We also want show the people of our age that their ideas can be.
Yeah, can help the rest of the
Yes,
people.
And
shouldn't be discarded, and it can be very important.
Yeah, you need to there. So, by the way, I see you had a very nice journey with Diego and all the experiences, but it was 2.5 months journey with the final gala at the end. Which was the best of this experience? The things you enjoyed the most, you like the most?
All the things were great, but if I have to choose, my favorite part was knowing Sarah, because now we are very good friends, and like she said before, we work very good together. And another thing that I liked was the gala. All was very American, and 3M treat us incredibly good, so we are so thankful.
We also enjoyed it a lot. It was an amazing presentation, believe me. All the 5 finalist pairs did a very great job, but they are the winners, so we are very happy to have them here together.
You are so inspiring, and you know, for me it's a special honor to have you today, because we are working so hard in the female community to have future women in science. For me, this is really, you give me hope, and you give us the strength to keep opening the way for you to succeed. We want you to see you succeed, and we are really honored to have you here today, and we will be following you. Thank you very much.
Let me...
Well, one applause for the ladies. Yeah. Alicia, this program is amazing. Really, yes. I think it's a concrete and practical way to push and activate and foster science in the citizenship. What do you have next for us then?
Well, we are already working on Top Scientist 2023, because the first edition was a great success, and we are very excited of continuing. And we decided to open this proposal to the rest of the community, not only students. So we are launching here in South Summit an initiative for all of you. You will find these cards outside if you want. I would like you, the entire community, to think about a potential issue to be solved in the environment, and you need to record a short video like they did for the first attempt, upload it to your social media, and with the hashtag 3M Reimagine What Is Possible. You have all the details here, and you can have a prize of 5,000 euros. So I encourage you to participate.
So we have another opportunity to look into practical uses of science in daily life. That's concrete. We see that the stories can happen and can be true. And thank you for the inspiration, 3M. Thank you for the Post-it. And thank you for everything that you are doing here today. Thank you very much. Wow, isn't that something? Please, we have the Carmen and Sarah here with us. We are looking forward to how can them connect and to connect science with reality and to look them grow, of course. And of course, we want to keep thinking about connecting science with reality. And that gets us to our last speaker of this block. Christian is almost done.
Yes, it's time flies. Time flies.
Time flies.
Well, we were speaking about science, and I think that science is Paul, is what you are doing in Mobile World Capital. So please, Paul, come here with us.
Hello, Paul. Welcome on stage. I'm a fan of Collider, too, by the way.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
What's Collider, for the ones that don't know about Collider?
It's an innovation and acceleration program, but we are based on science projects. So we cherry-picked potential technology projects from universities and research centers. And we try to validate their potential in the market, and if we find so, we incubate and we accelerate them, and we become the first investors of that project. Yeah. So our main focus is to accelerate science-based projects. Yeah.
Something really
Sometime you might be sponsoring this, Carmen and Sarah.
Hopefully, hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, they are the features that. What kind of examples can you bring to the table? I mean, what is happening in terms of science that can be accelerated and can be a new business?
We have a lot of things. We have a lot of things on agri-food sector. We have a lot of things in energy, in health, in digital health. We have incorporated and invested in 18 companies so far. 18 companies that are facing Series A, Series B, so quite exciting companies, quite exciting startups. We are in a phase that is very early stage, so we actually don't know if that project will scale and will succeed. That's why we need the involvement of the ecosystem. That's why we need the involvement of corporations, of investors, entrepreneurs, et cetera, to help us to accelerate those projects and make real the dream of the scientific team that it's behind the technology. Yeah.
Okay. I think that it's also a case of collaboration, right? Because you're collaborating with corporations, with scientists for sure,
exactly.
In order to boost that kind of
yeah,
projects.
we think that ecosystem for us is super important because we don't know actually which technologies will succeed. So we need corporations in order to validate those technologies and the desirability of the market of those technologies. And also, we cannot invest a lot of money on this kind of projects that they are very financial. They need a lot of financial. They have a lot of financial needs. So we need not only corporations in order to validate those projects, but also investors in order to secure the viability of the projects after the program, after we have invested on that.
It's a perfect combination, I think, because you are boosting or creating this bridge between the science and the practical world by giving this little initial push, but also making sure that you have all the right players in place, no?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
What do you have in the future, or what kind of practical examples can you share with us?
Our idea and our core and our aim is just to bridge the gap between science and industry. We hope, and we are opening doors of research centers and universities in order to big corporations, SMEs, medium corporations, etc., to look at the science that is going on the research centers and universities across all Spain. So what we are wanting is not just to accelerate programs and create startups, but also try to bridge that gap between science and industry. Yeah.
Yeah, because the gap sometimes is like different language, different movements.
Yeah, it's different.
Like different worlds even.
It's different worlds. We started 5 years ago, and we are quite optimistic because we have seen a lot of changes. We are not the only player in the ecosystem. We are not the only ones that are trying to do the same thing with different approach. So a lot of things have arrived. A lot of projects have arrived. We have seen that it increased sensitivity on technology projects, on going to research centers, on understand what happened, or widen the open innovation programs of corporations. So we are kind of optimists. Our next thing is just keep on going on what we are going, and what we are doing. Yeah.
What I've experienced visiting Collider and the projects that you have there is that even though the distance maybe to see this scale, when you see that happening, the thrill of creating these deep changes that come from science is energetic. You feel that, oh my God, you are hitting here with real interesting stories.
Yeah, because actually if these technologies work, it will disrupt the market. Exactly. It will disrupt the industry. If we look at the big changes that happen in the humanity, the vaccines of the COVID is science-based projects, the internet is science-based projects, GPS is science-based projects, all these energy science-based projects, etc., etc. All these things that change the way we interact, the way we consume, etc., was thanks to this kind of projects. So we are truly excited to see these projects going forward and achieving great success.
Yeah, like the first step of that value chain of innovation, I would say.
I think that universities are the first step. There is the tech transfer offices that they are doing a great job. I think that we need to close the different walls, no? The scientific mindset and the company industry mindset in order to bring together and see what happens there. Yeah.
We call this section Good Business with Good Science.
Yeah,
no?
actually.
So any call to action, any invitation to our guests today and people who are watching on streaming and maybe in the future will be listening to this podcast or video?
Hopefully. Or keeping the same idea. It's just to look at what is going on the science, look at what's going on in the universities, in the research centers, look at what is going on, because it will be the next things on the industry. Metaverse is based on Web3, that it's deep tech. Artificial intelligence that we are talking a lot about is about deep tech. All the changes in the new technologies will happen thanks to this science project. So grow the sensitivity to look at it and try to widen your open innovation projects in order to embrace that kind of projects.
Embrace science.
Yeah, embrace
Thank
science.
you very
yes.
much, Paul.
Thanks
Thank
a lot
Thank you
for the
very much,
invitation.
Paul.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Christian, what do you think about today?
I don't know, so many ideas, so many ideas. I think that, well, we have said that the world is complex, and ecosystems, collaboration, and people are ways of doing that. I see this like a puzzle, where different pieces, and people are struggling in order to get the pieces in the same picture, right? In the science, in the corporate world, in the startup world, everyone is trying to get like the picture of how complexity can be more simple, I would say. Yeah.
And we discussed that nowadays we have all these wicked challenges, wicked problems that we are facing as humanity. As Maria González Picatoste said, we need to realize that these challenges will keep existing, to embrace the complexity, to learn to surf it, and to maybe orchestrate the ecosystems needed to face those challenges. Yeah. And we do that with open innovation, which we love.
Yes, we try.
No?
At least we try, I think.
Yes. We invite you, together we invite you to be connected, to open your eyes and your ears to everything that is happening, to be ready to collaborate. And if you want to discuss about open innovation, we're your people, right, Christian?
Well, we're always talking about this. So.
Thank you very much for sharing with us this new edition of Radio Open Innovation. And let's keep connecting and creating business together. Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of the day.
Okay, what an amazing job by Marisol, like for an hour and a half to be on the stage, bringing people on, bringing people off. That's a hell of a job. I've had to do that on occasions. My job really is just to keep talking until they get all the organization here, and they look to have done that. So we will continue with the next panel. We're back to the days of panels, no more radio AI. So if I could ask Manuel, Danielle, Enrique, and Jose to come on stage, please, when they're ready. Usually the moderator sits at the far side, so we think of your neck, you know, because although if you sit in the middle, your neck is basically going, you'll be like playing tennis, you know, so that's not so good. So we have Manuel, Danielle, I'll let you all introduce yourself. It's all a bit cringy when you have to introduce yourself. So we're just waiting for them to set the time. Quick microphone check. Hello, hello?
Hello, hello.
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me? Hi, how are you? Hello?
Okay, I think we had 2 out of 4 working microphones, so we'll just try it one more time.
Hello? Hello, hello. Good morning. Good morning.
Okay, anyway, if we have nearly all ready. Okay, so we're going to talk about the energy transition. Okay, big round of applause, please, for the panel. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, thanks a lot. Thank you everyone for coming. I knew that this panel was going to be a complete success, first because of the quality of the speakers, then because of the topic that is really interesting, and also the room is almost full. That is also amazing because yesterday was Thursday in Madrid with a lot of parties, so thank you everyone for attending. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Manuel Alamillo. I am investment director at Clean Energy Transition Fund. It's a 200 million fund that invests only in energy transition startups. So this is why I have ended up here being moderator. And I have to say that I'm honored because I'm surrounded by a lot of talent and I'm a little bit nervous, so let me introduce themselves. First, we've got Daniel Santa Cruz. Daniel Santa Cruz is a physicist. He has been working as engineer, and now he's devoted to the innovation activities. First, he started, well, he's been 14 years working in the wind industry, first in Iberdrola, and now in Ocean Winds in the offshore industry, and Ocean Winds is a joint venture between EDP and Engie. Then we've got Enrique Santa Cruz. Enrique Santa Cruz is, Fernandez, sorry. Enrique is also engineer from ICAI and also economist. He started 10 years in Arthur Andersen, but then he moved to Repsol. In 2021, he's the Chief Digital Officer of the company, and since 2017, he's been in charge of the digitalization process that Repsol has been carried out. And well, I don't need to explain what is Repsol, but the activities that Enrique is carrying out in Repsol are key for the decarbonization of and getting the goals of decarbonizing that Repsol is having. And lastly, José Benjumea. José Benjumea is studied business and law. He's a serial entrepreneur. He has founded 4 companies in the renewable space: Fotovatio, FRB, Powen, and also Vembros. So he's been 17 years supporting the energy transition. And lastly, he's also member of the board of the Rio Tinto Foundation and protector of the Permanent Observatory of Hispanics within the Duque de Soria Foundation. So thank you very much all for attending this panel. And the first question I've got obviously is the title of the panel, and I would like to better understand for you what is infrastructure digitalization and why this is key for the energy transition. So this question, Daniel will start.
Yeah, so what we do at Ocean Winds is we design, install, and operate wind farms at the sea. And because the theme of this conference is decoding complexity, I'm explaining in very basic terms what an offshore wind farm is. We first put foundations, which are massive steel structures in the sea that are attached to the seabed. On top of that, we put wind turbines, huge wind turbines, and then with some cables that link turbines between each other, and then with an offshore substation, electrical substation, and then a cable from the substation to the land. And then we produce the energy with the wind, and we move it to the land, so to the consumption areas. Okay? So this is infrastructure, pure infrastructure. Offshore wind or offshore wind farms are, I would say, the key for energy transition, or one of the most important keys for energy transition, because, well, where we are trying to phase out fossil fuels energy production, we need to replace that with something, because we are, as humans, our society, we are consuming energy every day. So, and I think one of the few ways of replacing big fossil fuel power plants is to do it with renewables at scale. And that's where offshore wind comes into place, because we can produce energy with, we can install power sufficient to replace these huge fossil fuel power plants. So for you to make an idea, our projects can be of hundreds of megawatts or even thousands of megawatts. That's, for you to understand, the same power, the same installed power as a medium-sized nuclear power plant. So in each of our projects, we are building huge power generation. So I think key infrastructure for energy transition, because it also enables other industries to consume renewable power.
Okay, Enrique, in your case? Well, I'm going to dedicate more space to digitalization, which is the second part of the title. As you mentioned, you know probably in the room and in online Repsol. But let me say, perhaps you don't know all the different aspects of Repsol. There are some funny facts that not many people know. We are the largest bakery in Spain, not very known. We are the second largest sunglasses seller, close to the first one this summer. It means that we have a great linkage with the customer, no? And that is something that makes us very powerful in order to gear one of the key levers in energy transition, which is the behavior of the customer also. No? But we'll speak about that later on a little bit. We, at Repsol, we were in 2019 the first company in our sector to pledge net zero. We stated our commitment to be net zero for 2050. And as our CEO says, we don't know who of us is going to be there for 2050, so it seems very easy to make a pledge on neutrality for that date. What is really relevant for that date is that there is a commitment with intermediate steps in year 2020, 25, 30, 40, and 50 that we are in fact reviewing and increasing over the time. No later than 2 years after that pledge and that commitment, we increase the intermediate commitments for that pledge. There's also an interesting fact, which is that with the current technology, we still don't know 100% how are we going to get that neutrality. There is a space that we still need technology to evolve, and different technologies. And the fact that digitalization has a key play to role in this neutrality is a fact. We've been in a digitalization program for the company for the last 5 years. There are mainly two big aspects in digital in Repsol. There's one industrial and manufacturing digitalization. We have to do with power plants, with refineries, with our installations, with our energy sources, and everything that you can make there in order to be more productive and more energy efficient in your activities is going to reduce your footprint, absolutely. But there is also a commercial digitalization linked to the customer, and everything that you can do in order to make that customer more aware of their energy habits and the behaviors and their footprint of the energy that they are consuming, how can be compensated on everything, can be reduced in certain ways, is also very powerful. No? And there's new business models also that can be unlocked by means of digital, like the solar farms or the solar communities like SolMatch or Solify, which are our initial thoughts and early projects on there. So in my vision, digitalization and energy transition, they are very much linked. More than one half of the initiatives that we are currently taking are related also with decarbonization objectives.
Thanks. And lastly, Jose, you can talk whatever you want. Having founded 4 companies, you can talk about infrastructure, digitalization.
Well, I think we are facing the third industrial revolution. And for me, that's the main thing that we are facing right now. And it's going to take 20 years. It's a huge opportunity. We have 3 key elements in this third industrial revolution, that is renewable energy, mobility, mainly the electric vehicle, and third, the big data, the artificial intelligence. And these 3 components are going to create this third industrial revolution. So infrastructure is essential because we need to get the wind, the sun, and convert it in kilowatt or in hydrogen or wherever. So we need to do this transformation of energy from those sources. And secondly, it changed everything in the way we understand energy. Right now we have the generation of electricity, the transport, the customer, and all things is going to change and become circular. So digitalization is essential to really put all these sources, all the self-consumption, solar PV, wind, with the customer, with the storage, everything together. No? So I think this is, for me, the main idea. That's why infrastructure and digitalization is essential. But the good news is this is an amazing opportunity to create startups, to do many things, because people who have been in this market, in the energy market and in the digitalization, really don't have the solution for the new challenges that we have. No? So I think it's a wonderful moment really for entrepreneurs to create new companies and to give to final customer solutions.
Thank you, Jose. Completely agree with all of you in your answers. Now, moving, you have mentioned a little bit what your companies are doing in this infrastructure and digitalization world. What are the next big things that you are going to bring to the market, or what are you doing for this energy transition? If you could put some real examples so everyone could understand it better, it would be great. Let me start this time with Enrique.
You ask about the next big thing, and let me be a little bit changing a little bit the scene, because perhaps in our case it's not a matter of one single shot on a big movement. I mean, there are big things going on in the company. We, again, not many people know that we are the largest producer and consumer of hydrogen so far in the Iberian Peninsula. No? We have more than 60% of the market share in hydrogen, and our commitment with green hydrogen is very clear. We, by 2030, going to be like almost 2 gigawatts of renewable hydrogen there, with more 2.5 billion euros investments there. So that's something big, but it's not happening right now. It's happening right now, but it's going to take some time, because one of the things in infrastructure and digitalization is those things takes time. No? Thinking in terms of digital products, our portfolio includes nearly 400 initiatives, 370 in fact. And 170 are related with decarbonization. Let me point some, because those are maybe not so big, but smaller, but also very relevant. No? I mentioned individual people behaviors. No? You can compensate every time that you refill your tank, with our app Whitelab, you are offered the opportunity to compensate the footprint of that refilling. By the way, half price of what you can get, because 50% of that is taken by the company, so that's a voluntary compensation, but it's offered at your fingerprint just after that you pay there, that you refill. We mentioned also the Sol Match initiative with those solar communities matching the producers of people holding roofs with space for bringing panels in cities or on different areas with consumers that want to be linked small distance to those panels. And this is a digital platform. And we have here Repsol Foundation, who are now creating a product called Motor Verde, or green engine, if you may, where the aim of green energy, that's a lovely product because it's not only a compensation platform for, again, creating that compensation, but the important thing is those credits are based in reforestation at Spain, in those areas known as like the empty Spain. I don't know if that's proper English, La España vaciada, no? The places where there's not so many people and inhabitants there. So there is a combination that takes a lot of technology there. In the group of people helping there is Passat and the European Space Agency also, which is certifying the creation of those forests in there. So I would say that more than one super big shot, there are many digital initiatives that are pointing to that net zero commitment. And mentioning finally the role of the customer there, as I mentioned, you can get in Vivid, our home application for your home consumption, all the information and advice and the energy management system of your home, getting, oh, maybe those habits are changing, maybe you change your equipment, maybe you change your, I don't know, dishwasher because it's taking too long, maybe you can put there at certain hours where the electricity is more based on renewable or not. So I think the key part of there is providing that customer all the information they need, to be part also of the solution in the transition.
Thanks a lot, Enrique. Jose, in your case?
Yes, in my case, I would like to explain a case study based on this energy transition that we have been talking. 5 years ago, we started to think that it was possible to bring industry to Spain, to the empty Spain Enrique was mentioning, based on solar energy, based on wind, based on storage, and based on the next generation funds of the European Union. And at the beginning, people thought we were crazy to really create jobs, to create industry in the middle of nowhere. No? Today, we have been able to bring a Silicon Valley multi-billion company to Trujillo to manufacture diamonds, to create diamonds from scratch. They are going to invest 1 billion, and they are going to create more than 1,000 jobs in Trujillo. And they are doing this not because Trujillo is a nice village, by the way it is, but because we have sun, we have space, we have the support of the European Union for this transition, and this dream that we had a few years ago is a reality today, no? And I think it's going to be one of the first ones, but it will come many more. And we are receiving calls from many people to do the same in other parts of Spain. So what really shows this example is that this dream that we can bring jobs, we can reindustrialize again Spain, especially because of space, sun, and the European funds, is possible. No? So that's why I wanted to share this example with all you.
Well, congratulations. In your case, Daniel?
Yeah, so in our case, the offshore wind industry is a relatively young industry, so there's plenty of things to be done to perfection it. And I'm gonna speak about 3 different quick examples of things that we are involved in that are going the extra mile or beyond what we do and are very, very related to innovation. So first example is an initiative where we are part of that is, well, wind is intermittent by nature, right? So when there's wind, you can produce energy. When there's no wind, then no energy. So we are trying in a project to couple wind with floating photovoltaics. So we are putting them together and see the relationship between the times when there is no wind but there is sun, if we can mitigate that intermittency of wind, so to still produce energy for the needs of the customers. That project is also testing the same thing with an offshore wind farm plus waves generators. So this is buoys that move upwards and downwards with waves and produce energy. And we're coupling that with an offshore wind farm, again, to mitigate when there's no wind, but there's waves, we can still produce energy. That's one example. The second example is about nature and environment. So, building those infrastructures at the sea, it creates impacts on the environment, right? And we are required to mitigate those impacts by the relevant authorities. But we are going the extra mile in that, and we are planning to not only mitigate our impacts, but enhance the environment that we have around our structures. So apparently, fish like fixed structures in the sea. They go there, they find food, they find shelter, and they grow there. Okay, so we take advantage of having these huge steel structures there to install additional, these are like steel cages that give shelter to small fish so that they can grow, and they are not eaten by bigger fish, so they can grow and grow population of certain species of fish around our wind farms, and therefore we are creating more fish population. So it's not only about mitigating, but also improving on enhancing what is there. And the last example is, because we are far away from the coast, it can be 50 kilometers, 100 kilometers away from the coast, the operations, the maintenance, the inspections of our wind turbines, our foundations, is a huge challenge. We have to send people there, jump onto these structures, maintain the things, inspection the things, and so on. So we are working in a project that is testing in sort of fake foundations installed offshore. We are testing robots there. We are testing drones and remotely operated vehicles, underwater vehicles, to understand the capabilities of those robots to do the inspections and also repairs and replace humans by that, and to not put human lives at risk, because when we go there, there's harsh conditions at the sea. There's weather, there's storms, there's big waves with vessels that we go there, and the more we can reduce the exposure of human beings to those conditions, the best for us. So we are testing those robots in these fake foundations, and the ones that are, performing best, we will test them in our real assets in the wind farms. So these are 3 examples of things that we are currently involved in that gives you an idea of how we can innovate this industry to make it even more efficient.
Perfect. Well, thanks a lot for your answers. Congratulations. We're running out of time, so last question. Everything that you have tell us is very beautiful, really nice, but this is not an easy path and an easy way. What are the challenges you foresee in the coming years for the development of your companies, this industry, starting with Jose?
Well, I think we have many challenges. I think that this transformation is going to take time, and this is also very fantastic for creating new companies. So it's not going to be 1 year, 2 years, it could be 30 years. Secondly, we need to make sure we don't destroy things creating other ones. So we need to be sometimes careful with jobs, with all technologies. So I think we need to be careful on that. We're going to find many, many, many problems. People will say storage is very expensive. Electric vehicle will not happen because you cannot charge because I have a flat and I cannot. Everybody has always a problem on the table. But what we need to understand is that we need to believe that this change is going to happen. We need to continue working and fighting to solve all these problems, because we will see cities without smoke of cars. We will see a sustainable world with green energy, 100%. We will see that.
Perfect. Daniel?
Yeah, I think in our case, in the offshore wind industry, the challenge, I think, to be tackled is the reduction of the cost of producing 1 unit of energy. In the last 10 years, the industry has managed to slash by 3 the costs of producing 1 unit of energy. But we still need to make a bigger effort in order to make it even more efficient and cheaper in order to make it even more competitive with other sources of energy production, of renewable energy production. And that's the case specifically for what we call floating wind. I lied to you a little bit in the beginning. I said we have fixed structures on the seabed, but it's not entirely true. We also have floating foundations for places where the water depth is too high. We cannot put fixed structures because the structure will be so huge that it's not cost efficient. So we put turbines on top of floaters. And this floating offshore wind industry, which is already being commercialized, we have one of the 3 only projects in the world in Portugal. It needs to be achieving the same parity of cost with fixed offshore wind, because floating is essential when you go further offshore, because further offshore you have more wind, more stable winds. So we need to go further offshore with deeper waters and then develop the floating wind industry. And we have to reduce the costs of that industry in order to make it even more competitive of what it is today. That's the challenge for our industry, I would say.
Perfect. Enrique, the last minute and a half, what is your challenge?
Some experience on floating structure on the sea. We're also part of that project in Portugal and big linkages. In our case, I'm dealing specifically with digital, and it may seem a little bit ironic being in a place as we are today with such a huge amount of talent here gathering together. I think that as a country and as a sector, we need to state that the talent, in fact, and the capability to attract talent to our projects or to our initiatives and to our products is one of the key challenges. No? I think that technology is evolving very rapidly, but despite all the concerns of that the machines are going to replace humans in everything, in fact, for everything that we put related with a machine, we need humans around making those machines happen, no? And the scarcity of that well-trained talent for dealing with those new capabilities of AI, machine learning, even those customer engagement techniques based more on digital engagements and so on and so forth. That's really hard. Madrid is blooming at these days. Spain is becoming very attractive for those talent, and we are struggling in certain ways to find all the capabilities that we need. And the answer for that in many occasions is cooperation. We need to find ways to cooperate between companies, between entities, and making partnerships with entities and companies that normally were not used to make those partnerships in the past. So the capability to create those partnerships is one of the key attributes these days.
Well, thanks a lot. I told you that it was going to be a really interesting panel. Thanks to our speakers. And that's been all. I hope you have enjoyed this time with us. So thank you very much, and thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. That was the panel on energy. The next panel we're going to have on is travel and tourism. I always say that it's Spain's best industry. It makes money. Everyone is connected in Spain with travel in one way or another. So it's really useful to have a panel. So if I could ask everyone to come up here, Ruben, Chiara, Marek, Ignacio, and Nicola, and we'll just get you all, make sure your seats are all working and your microphones are working as well. Yeah, so Nicola, Chiara, Marek, and Ignacio, hello. Okay, hello, there you go. The order is very important, I'm told by all my camera people. There's a guy frantically typing in a keyboard and things like that. So quick microphone check, Ruben, just hello? Microphone check, hello? Microphone check, microphone check. Hello.
Hello, 1, 2, 3.
Okay, so that's me going away. So big round of applause, please, for the panel on travel. Yay!
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Ruben Leonor, and I'm the Strategy and Quality Director of Renfe. Thanks for attending this interesting panel entitled "The Travel Industry is Back in the Game," in which you will find top panelists that will provide a comprehensive overview of the sector. As you have noticed, I mean, the title of this roundtable is not a question but a statement, And I think that we are all in the sector glad about this recovery and somehow optimistic about the future. But how will the sector evolve and what are we going to see in the coming years? That's what they are going to tell us. In 2019, according to the World Travel and Tourism Council, the sector contributed 10.3% of global GDP, descending to 5.3% in 2020 and rising again in 2021. But travel and tourism is the world's largest industry with a high impact on employment rates and also in the development of the countries and regions. Without further ado, I'm going to introduce you the panelists that are here today. First of all, I'm not in this order, but sorry, Nicholas. Chiara Quaglia is the Senior Vice President, Market Development Travel at MasterCard. She has been working in the travel and payments industry over 20 years. Welcome aboard, Chiara. Nicholas from Amadeus since October 2020 is the head of Destination Experience Distribution Platform at Amadeus. Welcome. Marek Fodo, co-founder of Atrapalo.com, also founding partner of Founder Capital, and chairman of Cantox, multinational fintech company. And last but not least, Ignacio Tovar, our maiden colleague from Iberia. He's the Digital Transformation and Innovation Director at Iberia. Okay, so welcome aboard and thank you for coming. So I want just first headline of each one of you, taking into consideration the different perspectives. Is the travel and tourism industry fully recovered from the COVID pandemic? And if not, if it's still not, what is your perspective? What is the forecast for the coming years? You can start, Chiara, please.
Okay. So definitely we can say that the travel is back, and I just give you some data, and then during the panel I will give you a little bit more. So what we are seeing, according to the MasterCard Economic Institute, is that if the booking trend will continue as it is now, we will have this year 1.5 billion more passengers flying over, I would say, last year, so 2021, but also very positive trend and increase over 2019 that I think 2019 for travel is the reference. So I think it's, so that we can say that travel is definitely back. And within this 1.5 billion, what we are seeing is that the main region, I would say, pushing for this trend is Europe, more or less with 550 million. Then it's Asia Pacific, that finally, after all the constraints, is back, and then US, Latin American, Caribbean, and Middle East and Africa. So, good.
So, using the rail reference, we are on the right track. We are on the right
good,
track.
Right track.
Nicholas,
yes,
your perspective.
We do sign obviously the signs of recovery in the travel industry at the global level. Now, obviously, the situation is still uncertain, and we need to make sure that we are still able to adapt to the new situation. So it's all about traveler centricity and a lot about breaking the silos in the industry as well to make sure that the industry remains able to face any event that would come.
Okay, thank you, Nicholas. Marek.
So there are two data points that I have. One is from Cantox. Cantox is doing currency management automation. And by the nature of travel companies, they do a lot of currency management. So we see data of volumes of foreign exchange that these companies move. And they, compared to 2019, the same clients generate substantially, or not substantially, but they generate more volume. So travel is back and with vengeance. Travel is really, really roaring back. The other thing that I see as an investor, I see a lot of new startups coming up, attacking different problems in travel from different angles. So startups usually do well when the travel vertical is booming, because when travel is not doing well, like 2020, 2021, startups suffer too. So both these data points tell me that
Still, there were a lot of innovation during those years, no?
There was a lot of suffering and innovation, yes. And so those who survived, they are in good shape, yeah.
Okay, thanks, Marek. Ignacio?
So my answer is pretty clear, is I don't know. This is my answer, because, after 2021 having a positive summer, we were expecting like great Christmas, then Omicron came, we were suffering again, then we recovered pretty well, and then it was like Ukrainian war going down again. So so much up and downs that we just need to be flexible. We need to adapt to that. But honestly, today we are pretty positive. I think that demand is coming even earlier than we were expecting. Now, I think we're flying to some destinations even more than in 2019. So we still need to be positive. Maybe there's like some segments or collective like corporates that are still not here 100%. And what we're seeing is that, for example, you guys, those guys from venture capital and startups are flying more than 2019. So we need to say thank you here. So and let's see, because it's like this question around remote working and this kind of stuff that it could take us like 5 hours, but in my opinion, I think this is going to be back again. Remote working is like, I don't know, remote love. It's good for sometimes, but then if you do not see each other, you just like lose the contact, the feeling. You just start thinking on other things, and I think that's extremely important. And this is a good example today, right? That you're putting together like Renfe, Amadeus, I don't know, a great founder and a startup guy, and VC, payments and MasterCard. So I think that is great.
So we have to be really glad about this positive forecast, but also gaining flexibility, because we have to manage this uncertainty and we don't know exactly what is going to happen. Okay, and the second one is just a headline. Well, the main difference for you between travel industry in 2019 and now, what is like the key from each of you? Chiara, please.
So, few data again here. So let me explain you why I think both the combination of travel and payment, I think it's innovation per se, and I've been in the industry like 20 years. So within MasterCard, what we are doing, so definitely interacting not only with members that are financial institutions or issuers or if you want acquirer and so on, but with the whole travel ecosystem. Travel agency, travel intermediary, travel merchant, like Renfe, like airlines, but also with hotel hospitality and also with third party, like technology, the GDSs and so on, that are enabling the ecosystem. So what we are seeing here is that partnership, technology, and insights are definitely bringing innovation, innovation to life in travel. Specifically when it's needed most, and what we are seeing the past 2 years, that definitely there was a need to collaborate as an industry to bring both B2B and C2B, I would say secure and prepare for the growth that we are seeing this year. Now, the growth or the changes or innovation is driven by something very important, that is customer innovation, so customer demand, being business or being consumer. So it's very important to see the data. So what are the data that we are seeing now? So I said before about the 1.5 billion passengers that will fly this year. The other data that is very positive is that, and we recently published the travel trend, it's about business travel. So we saw business travel finally increasing over 2019. That it's a very, I would say it's a very critical milestone, because everyone was thinking that, look, business travel will go back finally in 2024 and so on. So we already saw that business travel is up, above 2019. Another interesting data is about how people, how the traveler in leisure are flying. So what we are seeing is that, and this is again, how we do see this is by aggregate, our data, our sales network data in aggregated and anonymized view, plus coupled with other proprietary analysis, but also our additional data sources. What we are seeing is that in leisure, people, short and medium haul flights are growing at more or less 25%, 27% over 2019. While long haul flight is still behind, and this is the data from April, 7% than 2019. Now, in long haul flight in April were 7% below, but in January we're 70% below, 75% below. So what is that in 4 months? We see a gap of 70%. So definitely it is changing. So let's see at the end of the year if we are also with the long-haul flights recovering as well. Now, another, and is the last data point, is how consumer or traveler are spending when traveling. And what we are seeing is something very interesting, that people tend to spend more now in experiences rather than in services or goods on things. So they prefer experiences. So 34% more spending on experiences. What kind of experience? Interesting. So 72% is spending more in bars and nightclubs. Maybe it's a consequence after 2 years of people getting out.
You have all the data from us.
30% in restaurant and 30% as well, spending more in destination, if you want, services. So it's amusement park, museum, really experience. So this is very interesting. So people is spending more in these things than in goods or things. Yeah.
Okay, Chiara. That's an interesting point and the perfect link for you, Nicola, because we were wondering what is Amadeus Discover and how important is the experience in this new scenario.
Yeah, absolutely. So, thanks for
very good point.
Bridging.
The rehearsal was really good.
So yes, we see the same trends as what you say. People are looking more and more for very unique, off the beaten track experiences, mostly the youngest generations, which are mostly digital. And on the other hand, you have these unique experiences of the beaten track, which are not digital, or the digitalization of these activities is very, very low. And so we have this gap to bridge. So as you said as well, it's a lot about cooperation in the industry. So what we have decided to launch is this platform that helps to promote the very local experiences by leveraging the classical travel channels that we have. So we build this platform, and on this same platform, you have the local activities, you have the hotels, you have the destination marketing organizations, you have the airlines, the airports, and so on, to help the local activities to be promoted to the traveler through the channels that we already use and trust. And so we launched this platform during the COVID. We can see the traction already. We've been selected by the French government to be the official digital platform for the recovery of the leisure tourism in France, called Alentour. We have a couple of DMOs in Spain as well using it, and we are expanding that. And the goal is really so first, of course, you have all the main attractions that are aggregated, because we aggregate the classical aggregators on the platform, so you have all these bases of experiences. But we also provide a very easy-to-use digital tool for anybody to be able to onboard on the platform in 10 minutes and to let all the ecosystem use this basis to promote the activities to the traveler. So it's a lot about traveler centricity, because we've been doing that because we focused first on what the travelers wanted to do. And it's a lot as well about breaking the silos in the industry, because we want to be the platform that will help all the ecosystem to cooperate together.
Okay, thank you. And Marek, as founding partner of Founders Capital and this venture capital, how do you see the startup ecosystem? Because we are in a startup event, and how do you see after pandemic and during pandemic, how is this movement, the feeling that what is happening around?
So in venture capital, of course, pandemics affects you, but because you're looking to in 8 to 10 years ahead, it's not the thing that is a game changer, really. You know, it's okay. It may be a slowdown. So with this kind of longer term view, what we see is that there are three types of innovation that is happening in travel. The first one, and for me the most surprising, is are the kind of carve out startups that do something that I would never think that innovation is possible there. And so for example, we all use Booking to book our hotel. Oh, it's game over. We use Booking, right? And then someone comes, and we have a company called Stay for Long, and they focus on being a booking for longer stays. And it turns out that the space is so huge, and the value proposition for them, for people who are staying longer in the destination, and that's why they maybe want to have better prices or different type of experience, it's enough to make a company that sells 50 or 100 million of booking per year. Another company like that is Travel Perk, which is a friendly company. We are not invested there, but it's business travel, the most boring part of travel. You know, like it's been unchanged for 20 years, and then someone comes over and redesigns it, and it's a really cool experience. So this is the first type of innovation, which I think is pretty amazing and very visible because those are brands that face customers. The other one that is not as visible, but it is as important, are all kind of specific tools that startups make to solve specific problems in the kind of value chain of travel. And we have, for example, a company that's called the Hotel Networks, and they go side by side with independently owned hotels, and they promote exactly what hotels wish. They want to reduce their dependence on booking. And so they want to increase direct booking, and the Hotels Network give them tool to increase that part. So it's really important for hotels. Another one that is recent and that you don't really see because it's happening behind the scene, but there is a company called Pruvo, for example, and what they do is they rebook your hotel reservation if the price drops down. So you do not need to monitor whether the hotel lowered the prices because they need to fill them. It automatically gets rebooked at a better price for you. Pretty cool. So there are these specific travel tools, and then there are, as Chiara was mentioning, there is a lot of innovation happening, for example, in payment that inevitably goes into, is applicable on travel because we pay a lot when we travel, right? And very often we pay. And so there are all kinds of restaurant paying applications. There is, we have a portfolio company called Hubuk that is doing really cool partnerships in the travel sector. We have a company called Iristrace that is doing a kind of process management and checkouts, and this is very useful for hotels, you know, when something breaks in the maintenance for the hotel, when someone needs to let you know that the light is not working in the room 101, and someone needs to change it, and then he needs to confirm it, and then the room can be clean, and it's a complex process that IT can help to solve. So there is a lot of it happening, and some of it we see, some of it we don't, but we will all benefit from it as customers.
So the travel industry is back in the game, but the game is changing a lot. Okay, Ignacio, from the airline industry, from the transport sector that we share, you know, how do you see this? You mentioned that lots of ups and downs during this time, but how is being the recovery, and how is Iberia preparing this new scenario, and you know, sustainability goals, innovations, because some other part of the round table was about accessibility and about, you know, to make this travel and tourism industry accessible for everyone.
So if you think, and we could focus on the customer, so we had like big questions to be resolved, and I can see some of the research team inside Iberia here, so thank you so much for coming. The first question was maybe related to how are we responding to health and safety issues. So do you remember that, you know, a year ago we were thinking if sanitary masks were staying forever? So I think I have a clear answer again, and it is not, I don't know, it's just, so the answer is no major change. So I think we are staying the same to the way that we approach this kind of thing. So and we have some clear examples. For example, I can see some faces that were yesterday in South Summit Gunilla party, no, at night, and now you're here, no mask. So I think it's pretty clear that we want to be where we were like a couple of years ago. What we can see also is that, you know, digital and sustainability, so being more digital and being greener is the kind of trend that we need to focus. I can see my mother like scanning QR codes everywhere now and speaking through WhatsApp with companies. So I think that wasn't there before. And I think we need to leverage that and to take an advantage. Then in terms of sustainability, so I think it's one of the most important topics in our agenda as airline, as a travel industry, and you know, as a society in general. We want to link that not just with a kind of carbon footprint or emission stuff. I think that has to start with a kind of purpose for as a company, so doing good, doing well. generating, our purpose as Iberia, I think we write that down, and we've been there for like 100 years, but we started thinking about it now. And it's, let me see if I can say it properly in English. So it's, from Spain, generate prosperity, connected people with the world. So that is what we do. We connect people, and we want to provide epic experiences there. And meaning that we need to change some of the stuff that has been going on for ages in our industry. I think some of the things are just unacceptable, and the only way to resolve that is collaborating together. So we need to pay seamlessly. We need to collaborate with Amadeus as a partner with our third parties. We need to work with the startups, and that is actually what we are trying to do. If you think on our trip with Iberia, starting with the planning and ending with what you do in destinations, there are some things, you were saying, imagine that you could just get direct information of what is required, I mean, COVID documentation to go somewhere, and that you can upload a document, and there's like an intelligence that just give you the okay to travel with that document, and that you can just book your flight and see an immersive experience of our cabin, so you now see the seats that you are going to go to, as you do with hotels. You wouldn't buy a hotel if you don't see the room, right? So that is pretty much the same. You can pay seamlessly, of course, with MasterCard, but also with Bizum, with PayPal, this kind of stuff. You go to an airport and you can go through security and a boarding gate just with your face. So that is a biometric thing. You go into a cabin, and I'm finishing. You go into a cabin, and you have real Wi-Fi. So at last, you can do things. You need to pay to have big bandwidth, but I actually did it. You can do a FaceTime. You can do a video call in Teams inside an aircraft in the middle of the Atlantic. And then you can have free Wi-Fi for messaging. And all of this stuff are actually happening for Iberia. So we were not imagining that 2 years ago, and it's actually live. Our first flight to Washington last week, you could just log in as Iberia Plus and have free messaging and WhatsApp. So I mean, you cannot just watch Netflix with that, but you can talk with my mother, for example, and that is pretty amazing for us. But we are very excited, and let me take the opportunity to say thank you to all the Iberia guys that are here, and partners, Amadeus, MasterCard. We are working together in this, and we have learned a lot in these 2 years, and I'm learning for you every day, so thank you so much.
So not only connecting with our destinations, but also with our mothers. So
Exactly.
very cool for you. Okay, and just last question in the same order as I think that we all agree that there is a reinvention of the industry after pandemic, and the game is changing, and the speed is faster for moments. But what is the key from this last thought of you? What is the key of this reinvention, and what will be the key? I mean, what is the key right now, and what do you see that is going to be the key in the short term?
So what we saw definitely in the payment side, that as a consequence of COVID, I would say contactless payment, as boom, everyone tend to pay more with the mobile device rather than with the physical cards. For, I would say, a health concern, but also, I would say for, it's more agile, if you want, the customer experience. So definitely on that side. What we also saw that is very relevant for travel, that as a consequence eventually of COVID as well, and what we see in the data now is that people tend to book more via travel intermediaries now than before, rather than direct. Because of experience, most probably because of better choice, and also I would say definitely customer experience. And I think one of the other concerns that we saw is the use of, suddenly consumers were paying with different form of payments and so on, and within MasterCard we have also bank-to-bank account, we have also, I would say, blockchain, we have crypto and so on. Now, they realize that when paying with card, there is protection. So that now what we see as well in some countries where other form of payment were generally higher, people tend to book in travel with card. It could be in app, in virtual card specifically, in travel intermediaries through travel merchant.
Okay, Nicholas, what is the key for you?
For me, the key as an industry is really cooperation. As we said, I mean, I think everybody said that pretty much. I mentioned the example of what we do with Amadeus Discover, helping Iberia or Renfe to promote activities to their travelers. But we also have other platforms, like a platform called Traveler-Centric Platform, which helps the different players in the industry to securely exchange insights on the travelers, to better serve each traveler, because we have more insight about this specific traveler. So it's really all about cooperation. The more we can enable cooperation in the industry, the better this industry will grow.
Okay, right. Marek and Ignacio is with right now.
I will be very brief. I think the key for me, the winners will figure out how to harvest innovation from a startup. The big players who will be able to harvest the innovation from startups, because a lot is happening there, and corporations are slow, and the ones who will figure out that they will have the future.
So for me, I think it's like two-speed innovation. So innovation for new models, but also to fix the basics. I think we need to do that, and that is extraordinary for travel. And then, we are in South Summit, so it's about ecosystem and open innovation, and as you said, collaboration.
Definitely.
Okay, a new game, flexibility, cooperation, and innovation. So thank you all for coming here, and thank the audience for that.
Thank you very much.
Bueno. Thank you. So, as always, the magic moderator says, can I ask those of you who are leaving to leave quickly, and I ask those of you to let those who want to enter. So, if you could move quickly. It's like as if you're in an airplane and you're trying to catch a flight. You're all in airplanes and you're trying to catch a flight. Push people out of the way. Do whatever you can to get out. There you go. Okay, in the meantime, we'll ask Josh and Alexis to come on. There is all sorts of intricate camera setups and things like that, so don't move it. No. You've no idea, they were in here at like 6 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. Well, anyway, sit down. But I'm saying don't move the chairs because, those guys have lights and cameras and all sorts of things going on. Okay. So, I'm not going to, the speakers can introduce themselves, so we just have to wait for the clock, and we're ready to go. Okay, the next panel is going to talk about climate change, which is something that everyone, should be interested in at least. So I will just give over the floor then to Josh and to Alexis. Big round of applause, please, from everyone. Thank you. That's everyone.
All right. Thank you. Yeah, hi. My name is Josh Hensminger. I'm the co-founder and director of the Knowledge Hub at Net Positive Labs, which is a venture builder and think tank dedicated towards circularity and exceeding a net zero arrangement. And I'm here with Alexis Caporale of World Fund. And yeah, we were going to have another panelist who unfortunately is delayed, and that is Nemrata Sandhu from Vayu, which is an automated carbon assessment system helping retailers understand in real time how they can cut emissions. And we regret that she isn't here with us today. But to kind of jump into things, I'd be really curious to know what the investment hypothesis for World Fund is, in particular if you could expand on how does it relate to measurement.
Of course, yes. So at the World Fund, we started this fund with the core thesis that at this point in time, with the climate crisis that we're all aware of, those companies that are able to deliver the most relevant, most meaningful impact on climate change mitigation will also be the ones that will be more successful financially. That's the core thesis of the fund. So what we did of course, to start investing is, first of all, trying to understand which are the sectors where money should flow, right? There are lots of charts where you see emissions and investment and the mismatch there. So we started by saying, okay, let's not do that, right? So which are the most meaningful solutions where we should invest in order to have the highest impact? BC as an industry is very specific. We should and can invest only a certain type of projects, of ventures. So to me, the role of VC is to bring the future to the present. right? You imagine how you want the future to be. You imagine what is the alternative future that you want to exist, and you try to bring it to the present. That's our job, basically. That's what we do. So we mapped the challenges, and we mapped the solutions, and we said, okay, in these very specific places, there is a role for VC to play and to bring forward those solutions. So that's why we invest across all sectors of the economy, so energy, transportation, buildings, food, agriculture, and land use. But we only invest in those solutions that, first of all, have at least 100 megatons of CO2 mitigation potential per year by 2040. So, like, they need to pass a certain threshold of relevance. And of course, they also need to be a venture case. So high growth, profitable, network effects. We can only invest in technology and not in market dynamics. I mean, we are a VC in the end. So, yeah.
Could you tell us about one of those solutions, actually, and where it's kind of going, and how, admittedly, you see kind of the future, how it looks like if that solution we're going to scale to maybe 60% of the market?
Mm-hmm. Yes, of course. So, as I mentioned, we have this 100 megaton threshold, right? So we worked on a model, on a framework, on assessment ourselves, but also other funds. That's something that is very important about this industry, that we collaborate a lot with, among other funds. And we needed to come up with a way to understand what's the future potential of a solution, because you can very well see the present potential, the present impact of something. But it's very hard to forecast. And when you are talking about startups, let's say seed stage or even Series A, those companies still have not so much impact in the market, right? They are not huge. So we matched future impact in terms of emissions with future financial success. So what we always look for is companies that have that impact ingrained in their business model.
Okay.
So we won't invest in anything that says, yeah, I'm going to sell chairs, and with the money I get from the chairs, I'm going to save the world.
Yeah.
No, you need to be saving the world while you sell, right?
Yeah.
So that is the core thesis. So examples of this are, let's say, alternative proteins, right? In there, you are basically displacing animal proteins, such as, let's say, meat or milk or whatever. So that's your baseline.
Yeah.
And you compare against that baseline, business as usual. You include your solution, and you see, okay, if this solution achieves 60% of the market, what's the impact? And that top-down assessment is not on a company level, it's on a technology level. So if this technology is able to be superior to the incumbent and really gets to 60% of the market, what's the impact?
Yeah.
So that's our first assessment. If the technology is not enough, then we can't look at the company.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how good the company is.
Yeah.
If the technology is enough, then of course we go bottom up with the founders and say, like, hey guys, like, how are you planning to do this? Like, yes. So alternative proteins is a very good example. With also precision fermentation for all food-related things. We invested in a manufacturing company as well, which is doing alternative manufacturing, in this case, in-space manufacturing, but alternative manufacturing. The manufacturing industry, of course, has lots of processes and supply chain constraints and so on that needs to be solved. We are also very much involved with a company that is doing refrigeration for transportation. Like, it's super broad. I mean, I can tell you on the same day I look at completely different things. And well, to me, that's the beauty of my job, right?
Yeah. Is that making you a little bit more optimistic about the climate tech market, that you're seeing solutions come from such a wide diversity of potential areas, potential sectors, and also just kind of orientations towards where counter mitigation, or sorry, where counter emissions can come from? For instance, you said manufacturing to refrigeration.
What makes me optimistic about this is I see the quality of the founders that are coming to the space. of course, that doesn't mean that the quality wasn't as good before, but it used to be academic-driven industry, right? Like people from the academia who, of course, understand the problem from way before the rest of the population.
As an academic, I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. So I say, hey, there's an issue here. We need to create a solution. Those companies were very impactful, but not necessarily a venture model.
Yeah.
And now we are seeing second, third time founders like that super understand the game, the venture game, and they kind of say like, I can't dedicate my life to anything else but climate change, but nature, but biodiversity. So that really, 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 makes the whole level of the industry higher.
So if we're seeing more and more founders getting a little bit more mature, but there's still a large number of founders that are still kind of entering the space, if they're looking at an investment firm, or sorry, a VC like you, and they're looking at other VCs, what should they be most concerned about in terms of the potential pressure from that VC of changing their mission? Is there something that you noticed that they should really be watching out for, or why they should be coming to you?
Of course. So, I mean, as a general rule, as a former founder, I can say never underestimate the potential conflict with your investors, right? I think that and founders, when they need to raise capital, of course they need to raise capital because that's the fuel the company needs to exist. So they lower the requirement for the investor as long as they get the capital. And we've seen a lot of conflict. And as a founder, I had a lot of conflict with some of my investors. So I think you have to be aligned. And some funds will be more like us, more like KPI driven, more quantitative focus. Some funds maybe not so much, but you need to be aligned. And if there's a potential case in which your investor will make you lower your impact expectation because of their financial expectation, I think that's a problem. That's your red flag.
Yep.
So you need to see that the investor fully understands why the impact is ingrained in the business model.
Which can be worrying if that's kind of a conversation that needs to be had again and again. If we're in a situation where we need more climate tech and needs to scale quicker, and we still have to have this conversation, of course, then there's a whole other issue. On the measurement side, since this is a panel on Measure to Improve about net zero, what does World Fund think about the market for measurement around, for instance, new satellite imagery companies that are trying to create this data, the companies that are actually processing or developing the hardware that's specifically suited towards, well, processing the data, and also the actual analytics of this work?
Yes. So, of course, there's a lot of activity on the startup side, on the measurement. I think measurement also has the benefit of being a business model that VCs understand, which is very helpful for founders. So it tends to be software, tends to be SaaS, so it's something that you can explain to a generalist investor and they will get it, which is helpful. And I think there's a lot of really, really, really high quality people working on this. Like the conversations I've had with CEOs and CTOs from measurement companies are like mind-blowing because there's a lot of, there's 20, 30 years of data of research on this topic. It's new for us, the investor, because we live in our bubble, but it's not new for the world. So I think we are leveraging on a really, really high quality, insightful tap of information and knowledge. So that's great. I think that we also shouldn't underestimate the complexity of measuring. So sometimes there's a lot of remote software-only measuring solutions that, of course, will be part of the measuring, but it's not enough. And we see a lot of that in soil. We are very active we try to be very active in regenerative agriculture, and one of the key parts for that's scaling transition of regenerative agriculture is actually measuring the transformation in the soil. Soil quality, humidity, pH, etc. So there's a lot of activity in the measurement of soil quality via satellite, which is fantastic and it's super helpful. It's not enough. So I think that it's going in a very good way. Of course, you will see more investment on remote MRB, remote sensing, remote measuring, than on soil sampling. But we're seeing a little bit of both, which is good. So the same will happen with other industries. But there are some that are harder. We are seeing also lots of things on recycling for specific verticals, like construction, let's say. It's tough. There are industries that they really have zero data, as you well know. As you well know. So on those cases, I think that it will come, but we also should be very, very, very aware that it's not going to be easy, and that we shouldn't sell to ourselves that this solution will change everything. Which we need to be mindful, and we need to be careful, and we need to always think from a systemic perspective. I mean, from our investment hypothesis tries to be systemic. It's very hard as a VC because you can only invest in the companies that are out there racing, right? That's your market. But then we need to think on a systemic way, because if we invest in this, then what else is required in that same ecosystem for the solution to actually achieve the impact? Otherwise, that company standalone will not achieve its impact.
No. And this is being seen in a wide variety of areas, particularly in circular economy transitions, where when a single firm develops a single strategy, they rely on a hidden ecosystem of actors that need to be available. They don't know who those actors are. Those actors are underconnected. Those actors also don't understand the key features of what's being produced, how and when, which leads to an overall underconnected ecosystem, which leads to essentially a failure for circular transitions. This is happening at the urban level, but this is also very much happening at the level of national strategy design, where in the most simple of terms, nations do not have the information to conduct the total material flow analysis from even just the limited resource perspective for circular transitions to understand how do we design an effective roadmap to make this, well, actually effective by 2050. And if we understand the IPCC reports, even how they mention, for instance, issues around recycling, the conclusion is pretty simple. Without effective change in our production and manufacturing systems, we won't reach net zero goals by 2050. And we won't actually be able to reverse some of the kind of core impact by 2100, which is now that's the game. Kind of expanding on that point, I'm curious if you think there's something that needs to change about the conversation in measurement and in climate tech. You already hinted at this with the idea that things need to be a little bit more systemic. We need to have an understanding of what else is happening out there. We need to have an understanding of when a remote software needs to be accompanied with other kinds of solutions, but is there anything else that you've kind of really noticed and really want to see change?
Yeah, of course. I think that as we understand more and more what takes for the world to be actually regenerative, it's not net zero, it should be net positive, it should be regenerative. That's the goal. I think that the challenge is that sometimes we, like everyone, we expect the founders to solve everything. So we expect startups to solve everything, and sometimes are just not for startups to solve.
Yeah.
So on let's take circularity. There's a lot of measurement and regulation and so on that it's not the startup job to make it. So you can't solve everything with a business model. No. There are some things that are tasks for regulators, that are tasks for corporates, there are tasks for individuals. Like startups won't solve anything. So I think one of the challenges for climate tech is, of course, we still need more founders, we still need more investors, more commitment, but we need to understand what will be relevant from a climate tech perspective and what won't. Otherwise, we'll be spending resources in things that just are not to be changed by startups.
Is there anything you really want to see, for instance, either global governments come in and step in and provide, or otherwise national governments or local governments? Is there anything that in the next 2 to 3 years would make essentially the work of startups performing their specific role in driving towards net zero, or driving towards net positive? What's needed? What would you like to see? And what would you essentially just directly ask? I mean, if you're going to be able to ask the EU, please, for the love of God, just invest in this right now, or at least set these kind of regulations. What would you want to see?
A carbon tax?
There we go.
Is a carbon tax too much to ask?
Maybe.
Yeah, apparently
but
yes.
Also probably not enough.
Yeah, but I think that we are at a okay level of awareness, I think, as humanity of the problem. We still haven't translated that awareness into cost and like we are still optimizing the economy for something that is completely unrelated to what we know that we should be doing. So I think that those kind of macro incentives help decision makers align with what we know should be done.
What about in kind of the broader VC community? Is there anything that you'd like to see change? You already touched on this a little bit, but in how VCs collaborate, in how research is shared, how data is shared, or just broadly, is there anything that really needs to change about the VC market to be able to accelerate, drive, and deepen climate tech's potential impact?
Yeah, I think that VC as an asset class is phenomenal at creating wealth and accelerating, bringing the future to the present. I think it's clearly a fantastic vehicle to do that. It hasn't been proven to be the most auditable industry, right? It's not an industry that likes to be measured for its impact. So I guess that something that we are asking everyone else to change, to commit, like all the industries, all the governments.
Open up your data, get measured.
Yeah, like we're asking everyone to be measured. Okay, it's just what I would ask.
Yeah.
So I think that we should all commit and align to create the world that we want, that we say that we want, and just then be accountable for that. I see like top tier VCs now entering into climate tech because as an asset class is interesting, and that is just fun. I mean, I love to, I met here in the South, I mean, I met some funds that used to be generalists and are now doing climate tech, and it's amazing because they have a lot of experience, a lot of connections, they can help a lot. Well, I think they should also disclaim what their goals are and how they're going to make it happen, and so on.
That's interesting. Thinking a little bit further into the future, so if you have this kind of broad view of the kind of unique and new solutions that are emerging, are there any big wild cards, the kind of low probability, exceptionally high impact kinds of phenomena or kinds of trends? For instance, I mean, having global carbon tax actually being instituted may be one of those. But is there anything else, either on the technical level, on the social level, on the political level, that you as a firm are watching out for, or you individually are either hoping for, or very much just we need to keep our eye on if the weak signals are coming out that this massive change is coming? Because again, even in this context, for instance, COVID is effectively the world's first climate pandemic, and likely since the last global pandemic was effectively a century ago, the next one will not be a century from now as climate change increases, which effectively means, for instance, a pandemic is no longer a black swan. In fact, COVID wasn't a black swan. It's just a regular part of our everyday lives now in terms of expectation. So is there anything that you see on the horizon that really we should be paying attention to or that you want to happen?
Yeah, I mean, so from a tech perspective, I'm going to use my VC hat and say there are some technologies that can really change everything. Like we are talking to a lot of founders on the fusion, energy fusions industry, and also on the quantum industry. Like if those things happen, they can effectively change everything. And I think that we are going to see levels of transformation even faster than what we've seen, which is, of course, amazing.
Yeah.
And what we should be paying attention to is how that translates into, of course, climate change mitigation, and also adaptation in an equal way. I think one of the worst case scenarios is that we actually achieve to get the tech right, and we actually achieve to get the solutions right, but those solutions are unequally distributed as wealth is in the world, because that would be, I think, a tragedy as humanity. And I think that so far we are aware, but there aren't in place mechanisms to prevent that from happening yet.
No. And if the global vaccine inequity is any example, whatever happens in climate tech in terms of diffusion will have a similar inequity, to the point where there will be structurally unequal distribution of available access to the key tech, to the key resources. Even as something as simple as, for instance, who has the funds to change their coastal infrastructure to adjust to rising sea levels? In the US, this is unequally distributed. In the Global South, this is even more unequally distributed. Subnationally, nationally, at the very sub-regional level, there will effectively be coastal triage of infrastructure, which is something that we all have to be able to worry for. So if we know that this is around the corner, and we know that the inequity and the structural inequity is going to be a huge problem, where should we try to position more of the conversation on investing in developing and scaling this tech?
I think that
what other actors should we bring in?
No, absolutely. Other actors, I think the other stakeholders, that is very well understood in the impact investment, maybe seen, but not so much in the VC. So bringing out the other stakeholders. And I think that we should always invest or try to invest systemically. And that means that there are some solutions that have more impact in the actually transformation of a dynamic of an industry. So if you invest in Region Ag, you're actually transforming the food system. Yeah. You're just not investing in a solution. And that I think is completely different from just investing in a standalone tech.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for letting me ask you so many questions and having to avoid answering any myself. So on that note, thank you very much. Cheers.
Well done, Josh. God. Okay, that was Josh, who's a former student of mine, so it's great to see him up there and great to see him giving. I was actually listening to what they were saying, so I was, instead of preparing for my next session. So anyway, what we have to do, we have to move chairs. They literally said, just talk while they're moving the chairs. So I guess that's what I'm doing. Okay, so I think this is the final session today? This is amazingly the final session, although you all have to go to the arena stage afterwards for the presentation of the Startup Awards and all of this kind of thing. So circular economy, I believe, is what we're going to talk about now. So we've had travel, and then after we had travel, we had climate change and measuring climate change, and finally we're going to have the circular economy. So I could ask Gabriel, Daniel, Helene, Francesc, and Patricia to come up, please. If you want to come up on the stage, we just need to test your microphones and also make sure the camera is perfectly aligned, getting your good side. Do you have a good side?
Yeah.
Yeah, both sides are good, right? Okay. Just waiting. Everyone's getting the last-minute check, you know, everything. The processes are all breaking down because it's Friday afternoon, and everything on the first day always works brilliantly and wonderfully, and then go ahead and sit down. You know, it's not like a football team photograph or anything like that. Anyway. Okay, so just quick microphone. I'm supposed to stand over here, apparently. So quick microphone check. Say hello.
Hello.
Hello. Quick microphone check.
Yeah. Do you hear me?
Okay.
Hi. Hello.
Hello. Hello. Hi. Okay, perfect. Right. Well, I'm going to disappear then. The stage is yours. Perfect. Okay, big round of applause, please, for the circular economy. Yay!
Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. So there's a word that I love that it's been going around for quite a while. It's called progress, right? And just to give you a little bit of context, the last 200 years, we have managed to reduce poverty by 92%. But it has come at a greater cost, right? From those 200 years, the very last 50 years, we have produced a carbon footprint of over 58%. And we have reduced the living species in our planet by 57%, right? So it's not enough just about thinking about recycling. It's a bit more. And it's about partnering with corporations, with startups, with the society, with governments, not just to revert the effect of what we have done in the last 200 years, right? But to regenerate what's keeping us alive for the next 100 and 200 and 300 years. And this is something that we call eco-innovation. Right now, the eco-innovation ecosystem is valued at over 18 trillion euros for 2030, right? And it is up to us, doers, to make eco-innovation worth for everybody, right? And as Elinor Ostrom said, is how do we manage to grow for everybody with what it's from everybody, right? So today we are in the company of people that are accustomed of doing, not just saying, because at Unlimited Spain we say that it's better to do it than to say it, right? And today, well, we have Patricia Strain from Recircular. And then we have Dani from Argyro Singularity. And then we have Francesc from Incapto. And then we have Helen from Recover. So thank you very much, guys, for being with us. Okay. My first question is going to be addressed to Patricia. Patricia is one of the founders that have participated in Unlimited Spain's acceleration programs. And congratulations, because you have been nominated the winner of our latest program, so congratulations.
Thanks.
And for you that don't know what Patricia does, is she's the first marketplace to give second life to waste in Spain. But right now, I think you're the best one to talk about what you do. And there's something that's happening right now in Spain. It's called a new program called Circular Spain, that it's aiming to reduce 15% of the waste that is being generated here. So why don't you tell us how do you work with this, and how do you manage to do this, and where are we now as a country, as a society right now?
Hi, everyone. Thanks very much for having me here. As Gabo said, I am Patricia Astran. I'm the founder of Recircular, and we are a digital platform that helps companies identify new ways of giving life, or a second life, to the resources, as we call it. We work with waste, with secondary materials that they have, byproducts, excess materials, anything that may not have the best end of life, and we help them to give them a second life. Our objective is to help them generate economic savings and environmental and social benefits. So we work on a triple bottom line, and for us it's very important that companies understand that this is possible. It's possible to work on the environmental, social, and economic benefits at the same time. So how we do it? Well, it's not easy, definitely. We've been doing it for a while, for some time, and here are specific examples of how we do it. But our objective is, with our platform, to be able to give those resources visibility, so that any company, no matter how small it is, they may have a circular solution and a possibility to join the circular revolution that we are trying to implement generally, right? So first, we need a place where companies can publish and show what they have, no matter if it's 1 kilo of aluminum or 1,000 tons, or an equipment that they don't use anymore, or a pipe that they once thought they would need and they don't need anymore, right? So a place where they can show what they have, and our algorithm connects that waste with opportunities that there are of reuse and recycling, and with other companies that can use that as raw materials, so that they can substitute their need for virgin raw materials. And when we call it, when love happens, like when in Tinder, for example, or in other apps, right? We promote these transactions to be closed within our system, so that we are able to measure and calculate the exact environmental and social benefits generated through these solutions, so that companies know as well what is the value that they generate when they are worried, or when they work with us, so that they really work with giving waste a second life. So that's one of our main objectives. And where we are at now, well, it's improving, obviously. We are going in the right direction, right? We have more support from institutions. Circular economy is everywhere, right, right now. But we obviously need to go much, much, much farther. So I really think we are at the start, and there is so much more to go.
And to going much further, which is the way we go? Because I see two sides of this, is funding and consciousness, which is...
And the third one, regulation.
Regulation.
We need the three of them to work together. And when we talk about waste, regulation is a very important point as well, that needs to evolve, so that this secondary raw materials market really can, really explode, like really work. And that needs to come together. Consciousness, obviously, all of us here work in that area as well. We need companies to get involved, and for that, they need examples as well. And that's why we are working here, to give examples and to prove and to show that this is possible, and that other companies are doing it. And for that, we need brave companies, whether big, small, startups, all of them, to work together to implement these kind of solutions and prove that it's possible to give, in our case, waste a second life, but to implement different circular economy strategies to start a real transition.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Danny?
Yep.
Giving second circular life or creating circular design for food waste.
Yeah. Okay, first of all, it's a good pleasure to be here today because over the years we are attendee, today I am a speaker. And okay, AgroSingularity is a food tech company. We are producing food ingredients for the food industry. When I start to think about the bigger problem we have in the humanity, the top one is the food security, food safety. And we start to research in the value chain what are doing the companies or the people for integrating the economy, the circular economy, the new food tech, proteins, blah, 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 blah. And we conclude that in the end of the value chain, very close to the retailer, to the supermarket, to the consumer, have very clever solutions, but any company is thinking about in the beginning of the value chain, in the process, in the beginning, where the growers are producing the fresh food, or the canning industry is producing his product. And okay, at the end, AgroSingularity is producing food ingredients for the food industry, like flavors, like color, and are using the byproducts is in the origin of the product, in the growers, the farmers or the canning industry. And the first stage of the company was, okay, we got the ability to transform these losses in value-added ingredients. And today the company is investing in the L&D area for produce solutions for the food industry. Solutions like, for example, to remove the artificial additives we have in our food, or producing like new types of fibers. It's very useful for all of the food industry, but in a natural value chain. It's the complete company today, and it's the first step of the company. I think in a global network producing in local the byproducts in natural ingredients. And today we are producing here in Spain and serving in 5 countries in Europe. And the customer is taking the value to have a new supplier with the actual crisis of the supply chain, China, coronavirus, here in Europe now. And I think in the following 5 years, it's possible to become a global player, producing in origin of Latam, for example, or Africa, and serving the local markets.
How do you manage supply of your raw materials? For example, you told me a history about broccoli, about how producers and retailers were cutting off a part of the broccoli and they just were ditching it into the bin. So
yeah, the company, the headquarters is in Murcia. Murcia is a very, very small region here in Spain, but it's producing the 12% of fresh broccoli selling in the world. And all of the broccoli is cut in the tail. And its value is losing to the, for example, to the cows, to the pigs, for feed the animal now. But for example, if we transform the tail in an ingredient, we have a new preservant for the bakery industry. It's possible to extend the shelf life of the bread with natural ingredients, for example. At the end, the company is doing a hard thing. We need to ensure the supply of the raw material is losing, and we need to ensure the security of the raw material, because it's food, and we need to use for the food.
Okay, and about cost-wise, in repercussion to the end consumer, is it feasible for?
It's possible to fix the price because, okay, when the ingredient is supplying from China, all is cheaper. But in the actual crisis, no, it's in fact, because if you add the cost of the ships, you add the cost of the time, you add the cost of the broken supply chain, it's the same price. You have our customer is very comfortable working with us because it's possible to manage the level of stock in the facilities with us.
Perfect. Yeah, because it's vital to food security.
Yeah,
the cost.
It's about the food security and the food safety.
Thank you. Helen, hi.
Hi.
So Recover, and I know that this is one of the bad guys of the circular economy, the fashion industry. And there's a lot to do on the fashion industry, because if you take a look at the whole value chain process, up until 15 years ago, we only understood how materials and raw materials got into the process, got processed, and then got sold. But now, if we take into account the new point of view of the circular economy, that goes way beyond just the main activity of the companies. So why don't you tell us about what you do for our planet?
Right. I'm Hélène. I'm the Chief Sustainability Officer at Recover. And as you were talking about consciousness before, I think that it's a really good point, because any collective transformation starts with a personal transformation and a personal consciousness. And for me, that was, I think, around 12 years ago, where I was working in sustainability. I had to be doing a project, and I was in a textile sorting plant. I don't know if any of you have been to a textile sorting plant. This is where the clothes end up when you donate them. And it's just walls and walls and walls and mountains of, stacked bales of textiles. And, I realized there's not really any solution yet for this. I mean, we are reusing part of that, but for a big part, there are not really any good recycling solutions. Still less than 1% of that is being recycled back into new clothes. And kind of realizing that became sort of my personal mission to change that. And quickly found Recover, because I was happy, because Recover is a recycler, a mechanical recycler, and what they do is they transform textile waste into new fibers that can be then used again for new products, new garments. It's a Spanish family company, over 70 years old, so they started to do the recycling back in the day when there were just a lack of natural resources. It was a necessity to do it, just like it's becoming more and more a necessity to start doing it again. And I was really happy to join them on the journey, but it's only in the recent years that we really, really started scaling. We've just opened new plants in Bangladesh and Pakistan, and we see also the demand of the industry, because I think that brands and retailers can only put out sustainable products if they have the sustainable materials. So we are really the ones to help create a sustainable alternative for conventional virgin cotton. And we are working with the players like Primark and CNA and Inditex, because yes, they might be working in fast fashion, but at the same time, if we want to scale the circular economy, these are also the players that we're going to need to do that. So that's really exciting, and as well to maybe share some exciting news that just came out yesterday is that Recover secured an investment of $100 million into the company by Goldman Sachs. So it's also allowing us to, towards 2026, scale our capacity to 350,000 metric tons of recycling capacity. Still, this is a drop in the ocean compared to virgin cotton, but it's a great start, and we're really proud of that. But you say also circularity is not just about recycling. So we are an important part where at the end we transform the material back into a new material, but there's also business models, there's design, all of these things, especially in fashion, need to come together to make sure that we achieve the circularity, because with just recycling, that's not circularity. So, and echoing what you were just saying in terms of collaboration, we have the technology, we have our proprietary process, that's great, but we cannot achieve that systems transformation alone. So we are part of, European projects, part of helping to support, the European legislation that is now finally coming, which is really great to push also the textiles industry towards more circularity. And we need to do that, both of that. So being part of pre-competitive collaboration, we are collaborating with our competitors. But we both need the same systems. We need the same mindset change. We need all of that to be there to be able to scale what we are doing. So,
and congratulations.
Thank you.
That's a huge milestone in the history of Recover. And yeah, one of the key facts of circular economy is the funding. And we just signed the Paris agreements a couple of months ago. And most of the investment should be done, people say, only in CapEx or in technology, and whatever puts technology in the service of planet and people. But I think what you're sharing with us today is also about purpose, right?
Sure.
So how's Recover taking this purpose into 50 years into the future?
Oof. Well, of course, well, if I also, the current CEO is still also the son of the family company. So if there's anything about purpose that is kind of ingrained into the company, that's definitely the case. And, you know, as Recover grows so rapidly, I think for me as a sustainability officer, for me, it's very important that we do that in a very responsible way. So circularity always also should go hand in hand with social responsibility, and kind of environmental justice, social justice need to be connected. And that's really something, especially being in areas like Bangladesh, Pakistan, Vietnam, something that we really need to take care. So that's a big part of my focus. But at the same time, growing and scaling the post-consumer recycling is really my kind of holy grail that I would like to kind of achieve. Currently still, the biggest majority of our feedstock that we use is post-industrial waste. This is the waste that is from the garment manufacturing. And this is already great, because otherwise it will go to landfill, and we're using that. But the big challenge is post-consumer. This is difficult. Otherwise, we would do it already. We need we do also need CapEx investments in other technologies, infrastructure, because there is a big technology gap still, and a capacity gap. Yeah, we are working on it. So hopefully, you know, in the next few years, we get to see, you know, that we can go maybe to half of our feedstock coming from post-consumer. That would be amazing, and that's really something that we would like to achieve in the...
So if you want to recover waste and resell it, I think Patricia has something to say over there.
I was going to tell her, we have some post-consumer waste in our platform, so really happy to share that with you.
Exactly. So Hélène mentioned about community and social, and Francesca, I think there is something there that you want to share with us within Capto Coffee, because I know for a fact from Mexico, it used to be a country where coffee production was huge. Now it's been undermined, and the social effect it has gotten has affected people over there. But why don't you share with us on your own eyes and your experience?
Well, thank you very much for inviting us. Well, first of all, what we try to do in Capto is changing the way coffee industry works. First of all, by avoiding coffee pots, because it's something that we don't need to enjoy a good coffee. And we try to impact in all the value chain, starting from the coffee farmers. We try to collaborate with them. We try to help them improve their coffee experience so that they can sell, they can produce coffee without toxics, and they can jump to specialty coffee, and we can pay more for their coffee so that they run from poverty. 60% more or less of the coffee farmers are in poverty or extreme poverty, and they are leaving their lands because they can live with that. So we help them improve their experience, their product, and we buy them much more expensive than most of the companies so that they can improve what they do every year. And this is the beginning. But then we also want to change not also how coffee producers or coffee farmers can work and live in a better condition, but also how all of us consume coffee. That's why we are trying to explain everybody that there are other ways of consuming coffee that are better in terms of experience. With coffee beans and fully automatic machines, you have a convenience experience such as coffee pots, and you don't generate a single-use plastic. Okay, and by manufacturing machines here in Spain, such as you said, we started manufacturing our fully automatic machines in China, and now we are starting here. And we try these machines to be really with an index of repairability very high, so that they can live forever. I don't know if forever, but for a long time. And so we try to impact in excuse me, in all the value chain of the industry. And in terms of circular economy, we do a project with a mushroom farm next to Barcelona, and we send them all the coffee grounds that we pick. Yeah, that we pick from companies. we send them these coffee grounds, and they mix and they feed the mushrooms so that they can send these organic mushrooms to all of Europe.
And when was the turning point where you started to see that you could generate social wealth? Because what you're doing, that's the only concept that comes into my mind, that you're generating social wealth because you are acquiring your machinery from Spain, you are impacting local producers, you are serving more certainly better coffee than we're served at any given cafeteria. But how are you creating this social wealth, and how are you aiming to keep the flywheel going over the years?
Well, to be honest, when we started this project 2 years ago, actually it was 2 years since we were in the market, our objective was to offer a better coffee experience with coffee beans, specialty coffee beans, and fully automatic machines. And we wanted to say, okay, the era of coffee pots is over. This was our objective, and we said, okay, we can reduce a lot of waste in terms of plastics and aluminum. But when we saw what was happening in the coffee industry, I mean, it's a drama. I mean, how they treat coffee farmers, and we realized that we could help them all, how they don't do anything with waste of coffee, and we started to collaborate with many companies from clothes. For instance, here in Spain, there is EcoAlf. They produce T-shirts with coffee. And at the end, we ended with this mushroom farm. But, well, there are a lot of potential usages from coffee grounds, for instance, in food industry, we were talking before. And, well, we are trying to impact at each part of the value chain, and I would say that's all, because it is a very, as I said, it's a drama, the coffee industry, in terms of pollution, and there is a lot to do. And I think that all of us should consider how we consume coffee in our homes, in our offices. For instance, in offices, we say buy vending, buy capsules, and we bring with electrical cars the coffee to them, and we pick the waste of the coffee grounds, and we try to do all the circular process in this case. And, well,
thank you very much. Guys, any final remarks? We have a couple of minutes left. Do you want to add something? No? So you see how little by little us doers can change the world, can change people, can change lives, and can change consciousness around, at least to create a better world for everybody. Thank you very much, guys, for being here. Hélène, Patti, Francesc, Danny, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just me left to say goodbye. That's the end of this stage. You know, don't want to make any sad news or anything like that. That's just life sometimes comes to an end. Not going to make anyone sing the national anthem or anything like that. But I can recommend you go to the arena stage and listen to Lee Newman talk to Sal Khan. So, hey, listen. Oh, pardon?
Take a picture.
Oh, that's okay. Can I help? Yeah. Okay, are you going to do it? Okay, sure.
Summit.